Wait a minute. Wait. You gotta say something first. What do you gotta say, Chico? What do you gotta say? Hello, everybody. Happy. What day is it? Hump day? Can you say hump day Wednesday? Huh? Hmm? How you doing? Say hi, everybody. All right. Go protect the window. Hmm? Yep. Happy Wednesday, everybody. I had a lot of important stuff to do today, but don't worry, we're gonna have another great show again tonight, you guys. Billy Bean's out, Carol. Another long one, 41 minutes. Kay is resting again tonight. So, and Tim, Lucy, are you, is the snow still there? Terry, Daniel, Clara. I'm so glad that people are starting to get finding my channel again because I never had 5 shows over 300 views. So everybody's starting to find me again. Oh, in the mountains, Lucy? Oh, who was saying that? Was that Flying Eagle saying that yesterday, Ann, about the wrenches? Or Carol? Carol, I think it was. So the first couple, actually, the first half hour, we got to get to our original lineup, but we got a lot of short clips I'm going to do. And then squeeze in a couple Doug videos tonight. He has a couple. But I got. So I had to go take care of some, big things here, and then now I got to relax and get all the intel out tonight. A lot of important stuff. I think that hour and a half killed us last night. Me and I with an hour and a half video there. Oh, somebody's in the hallway. Oh, stop. Chico. He'll stop in a minute. Hey. Stop. That's enough. That's enough. You want up there in the window? Get up there. Hang on a second. Come on. Come on. Up. Get up there. Come on. Stop. Come on. All right. What are you doing? Too cold for you? Huh? I guess it's too cold for them. Come on. You gonna help me do the show? So, what did everybody think about the spray of Omar last night? Oh, and I got a new Patriot Princess video too. It's 6 minutes. And I got a new. Well, the first one I'm going to play is Biddy from last night. Then Trump has a 6 minute speech. And Melania rung the bell at the market today. I'll show that. Yep, that's what they're saying, Samantha. Just like everything else. But we're going to do a lot of short clips. Yep. Cool, be K to the rest tonight. Who's that in that window? Who's that? Yeah. Thanks, Samantha. Shoot. Uh, and I think you jinxed my phone now. Not working. Now I gotta find it the hard way. Where is it? Where is it? Oh wait, I'm gonna turn off my phone for a minute. What are you doing? Huh? What? Where you going? Huh? Come on, get down. Yeah, I want to get everything all in order here. I got 2 so far. I'm gonna. Ah, darn it. Okay, I found it. So now do you got a Derek Johnson video too? But we're going to do the first 3 about last night was the big topic with Omar. One seven oh. Okay, let's go. Time to go. First one.
Accurate, and we thank you for subscribing. Tonight, within minutes of Ilhan Omar being attacked at an event, we added a question mark here for a reason, because everything seemed very suspicious about what happened. We played you the video, and we said we'd probably learn more in the morning, and we certainly have. This is the video of Ilhan Omar last night at an event in Minneapolis. Ilhan Omar is giving a speech, and in this speech, a degenerate, bumbling man hops up and sprays her with a syringe. Watch the moment happen here.
Secretary must resign or face impeachment.
So he mumbles something and gets tackled, and we thought, well, this is extremely strange, because Ilhan Omar, totally unbothered by this, goes back and keeps giving her speech. She also, by the way, directly rushes the individual that attacks her. The individual, by the way, also doesn't really attack her. He just kind of jumps off to the side after spraying her in the torso and runs right into her security guard as Ilhan Omar gets a chance to look tough going after him, quote unquote. But what did he spray on Ilhan Omar? Nobody knows. People in the crowd say this smells really bad, so it's obviously potent. It's something. There are acid attacks, by the way, regularly in the Muslim community. Who knows what this could be? It could be very dangerous. You should get yourself to a hospital to make sure. But instead, Ilhan Omar demands that she keep giving her speech, and her security guards just let her? What? Also, by the way, every single media outlet on earth was there to cover this. Funny how that always happens. You can see the number of cameras in the crowd. Fox News, CNN, C-SPAN was covering it live. Is this normal? No, it is not for some dingy town hall in a moldy basement in Minneapolis. And so it just spiked our suspicions. And, well, it also was, of course, a very bad news week for Ilhan Omar. There's a reason why people are calling her Jessie Smollett right now. Part of that bad news week came because of us. Actually, our channel, we exposed Ilhan Omar's fake winery. Millions of people have watched this, 38,000 reposts, 106,000 likes. And we show that Ilhan Omar is claiming millions off of a winery that doesn't exist. She's also being put under federal investigation because of her finances. And today seems like a perfect day to get attacked, some are saying online. They think we're idiots. Jesse Sommeliet 2.0. Let's go ahead and look at a few things. One, her attacker. Her attacker's name's Andy Kazmierskiak. Okay. He has kids that, let's just say, are not MAGA. People are claiming this is her MAGA far right-wing attacker. No, actually, they're a far left-wing family. Fathers aren't super proud. Right-wing dads and MAGA dads aren't super proud of their gender pronounced, gender fluid, queer kids like this with their red hair to boot. This is not typical MAGA America First family activity. Ilhan Omar's alleged attacker seems to have some far left gender pronoun children. It's a little strange, that. He also sprayed her on the torso rather than directly in the eyes, where you would actually want a lunatic to hit you. He also runs away after spraying her. But this is the one that really got me. Odd that Ilhan Omar gives a quick glance to the guy before he stood up. Look at this. Look at this video. This is indisputable. She looks right at him and gives him a nod before the attack. Direct eye contact. Look at that. She can't help herself. They're so bad at this, man. The cameras, by the way, all the media attention at this dingy little town hall. So many media outlets there. Amazing, this. They all focused in on this guy. Look at him in the front row. This bumbling moron sitting there, chugging water in the front row, nervous as hell, literally playing a part in an SNL skit. She gave him the go-ahead nod just before she stood up, just before he stood up. She is a fraud. LMAO is the funniest political hoax of all time, horribly planned and executed. President Trump's comment on Ilhan Omar, Trump says he thinks that Ilhan Omar staged it. She probably had herself sprayed knowing her, says Donald Trump. No, I don't think about her. I think she's a fraud. I really don't think about that, says Trump. Why did Ilhan Omar continue her speech after getting sprayed with a foul-smelling substance? Anybody else would immediately decontaminate, change clothes, at least get out to a hospital. Unless, of course, you knew it was nothing and it was staged. That's right, she did. She just kept speaking for 10 minutes in the same outfit and then did interviews in the same outfit. It could have been acid. It could have been COVID. Who knows what it could have been, right? People have access to all types of terrible things you don't want sprayed on you. Ilhan Omar just kept rolling. Some people sprayed something. That just went as we rehearsed in drama class. Bravo. Sure, it's curious that Ilhan Omar immediately knew the substance sprayed on her had zero risk to her and everybody else in the room. It's almost like she knew it was nothing. President Trump asked if he'd seen the video of Ilhan Omar. She probably had herself sprayed, knowing her. I'm not saying that this incident was staged, but a sitting congresswoman is at an event where an unknown man gets up and sprays an unknown liquid on her. Then she bravely runs towards him without reflective safety reaction that most people would do, virtually everyone would do, to tune him up. As her security gets there, the attacker runs right into the arms of her security. Then instead of taking her to the hospital to get checked out, her security just lets her continue the speech. By the way, that room was packed full of people. So what if he had sprayed some type of, I don't know, horrible thing that could make everybody else sick? I mean, this is so poor. This is so poorly done. Somalis are funny, man. The third world scams are so blatantly obvious. It's Bollywood level acting. That's what the internet's saying. Yep. Everyone's saying, wait a second, these are the guy's kids? Oh, okay. Got it. Let's take a look at the latest Somali fraud, Ilhan Omar attacked hoax. This is the guy's mugshot. He really looks remorseful, right? Yeah. Netflix adaptation. This is MAGA country. Yeah, this is how you know it's fake AF. The man sprayed unknown liquid on her, no immediate evacuation, no hazmat, no emergency decontamination. In an age of biological risks, the only reason you do that is if you knew it was a setup, and so did your security. She didn't even check to see what she was sprayed with. No napkin, no nothing. She just acted like she was finna fight him. And I cannot believe they actually tried this. False attack. says Terrence Williams. Did a whole video on it, and that video is now since gone viral. 27,000 likes, 6,000 reposts. If somebody randomly sprayed you with a substance, you're running to the nearest bathroom, straight to the hospital. Instead, Ilhan Omar acted like it was nothing and continued her speech. This is unusual behavior for a crazy member of Congress. I don't know what's funnier, the video of Ilhan Omar pretending to be sprayed, or the fact that everybody knows that it was staged. This is good. Okay. Yeah. Here we go. This is a good breakdown. She goes toward the man. Totally not what you do if you have actual fear. She never even tries to cover her face. That's another instinct. Everybody knows what happens when you get sprayed. You cover your face. For somebody who said this country should be more fearful of white men, she's not fearful. The man immediately retreats. Nothing you would do if you were actually attacking somebody. She looks up right at him as though she knows what's coming. She doesn't care about the liquid afterwards. And the guy was too on point. He had him perfectly archetyped for what's perceived as a white American male, just like the Waltz campaign. It all seems very, very stupid, 6th grade prank to me. 3rd-degree assault charges, attacking a member of Congress is a federal crime. The Justice Department must fully investigate this attack. The FBI must interview the suspect along with obtaining a material statement from Ilhan Omar. No one is above the law, says Mike Davis. Oh, man, this one was pretty funny.
Time for an adventure.
Huh? What?
Welcome back to Somalia.
Oh, no!
Okay. The internet's too much, man. The internet is too much. You don't stage this kind of thing when you're winning. If you're smart, you don't do it when you're losing. You only do it if you have a 3rd world IQ. I'm so thankful for Ilhan Omar. That might be the funniest thing I've ever witnessed in my entire life. Absolute worst execution of anything attempted since I've been born. Everybody asking the same questions like, wait a second. Why wasn't the man trying to protect himself, shield his identity? Why didn't she barely flinch? Why did the man run away right into the arms of her security guards? Ilhan Omar, by the way, getting ratioed here after doing, I'm okay, I'm a survivor. So the small agitator isn't going to intimidate me from doing my work. I don't let bullies win. It's like it was all planned, man. It's like they wrote this out ahead of time. Grateful for my incredible constituents. Minnesota strong. Dude, she's getting ratioed. Destroyed here. 9,000 reposts, 15,000 comments. Staged. Look at this. You won the Oscar. All right. Yeah, obvious psyop ever. You can literally see her look up and then look down. Fake AF. Attempted assassination weapon. Thank goodness he wasn't able to douse her with remaining 2 teaspoons of liquid. There you go. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Marked safe today from staging an attack on myself so I can pretend to be tough and try and distract from the fraud investigation I'm currently under. There you go. There you go. What do you think, ladies and gentlemen? Let me know in the comment section.
This was staged. I don't care what nobody say. Watch.
Must resign or face impeachment.
It's your boy, Benny.
Lights, camera, action.
I don't know.
I don't know. Because you set it up. You know what it was. It was nothing.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's your boy, Benny. Like, share, and subscribe. We'll always tell you the truth. Unlike Ilhan Omar. This is good. It really is Bollywood level acting. They're funny, man.
He does have a video out, you guys. I'll see if I can find Terrence's video out from yesterday. So I got a lot of short clips we'll play for a while.
I don't know.
Oh my God, he's
I need a
something
napkin.
on her.
I need a napkin to know nothing.
No,
No, we will keep you.
no. You don't mind. You need to go get checked. No, we will continue this. We're not going to get away with it. You need to go get checked. No, I don't know what.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.
Border Czar Tom Homan holding a productive meeting with Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry yesterday as the Trump administration works to de-escalate tensions in Minnesota.
It comes as a man rushed Congresswoman Ilhan Omar during that
Never
town
mind.
hall meeting,
We'll
spraying
get
her
to,
with some unknown liquid. Her team
video.
says it was in a syringe, as she called for DHS Secretary Kristi Noem to resign.
Matt Finn joins us live in Minneapolis with the very latest details. Good morning, Matt.
Good morning, Griff. This was the Congresswoman's first town hall of the year, and there was, a lot of interest in it on the ground here because she was talking about the immigration crisis. We had a crew there, a lot of people paying attention to what she was going to say, and then suddenly it was interrupted by this man who sprayed the Congresswoman with some type of liquid.
As Secretary Kristi Noem must resign or face impeachment. I don't know.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. He
I
sprayed
need a
something on her.
napkin. I need a napkin to know nothing. No, we will continue.
No. Ilhan, you need to go get checked. No, we will continue.
Not going to get away with it.
It is not clear what the liquid was. We have inquired. Congresswoman Omar was angered and shaken, but apparently mostly unharmed. Security tackled the man identified as Anthony James Kasmerchuk and walked him out of the room. He was charged with third-degree assault. Now, the frightening incident happened shortly after Border Czar Tom Homan announced he had meetings with Governor Walz and Minneapolis Mayor Fry here in Minnesota yesterday. Homan writing, "Today I met with Governor Walz, Mayor Fry, and top law enforcement officials to discuss the issues on the ground in Minnesota. We all agree that we need to support our law enforcement officers and get criminals off the street. While we don't agree on everything, these meetings were a productive starting point, and I look forward to more conversations with key stakeholders in the days ahead." Now, President Trump has laid out a plan for ending the chaos in Minnesota, which in part requires Minnesota to turn over criminals for deportation. But Mayor Fry doesn't seem willing to play ball there, writing, "I also made it clear that Minneapolis does not and will not enforce federal immigration laws, and that we will remain focused on keeping our neighbors and streets safe. City leaders will continue to stay in conversation with Mr. Homan and his team." Now, Governor Walz, his office also released a statement after meeting with Tom Homan. The governor's statement does not make it definitive, but he didn't say anything like Mayor Fry said regarding not enforcing immigration law. Back to you guys in New York.
All right, Matt Finn, live for us in Minneapolis. Matt, thank you very much. So we'll see what happens. And President Trump has opened the door to try and get back to the core mission of ICE of removing illegal criminal aliens off the streets, out of communities, particularly in sanctuary cities, which are effectively protecting them and stopping ICE from doing their federal immigration law enforcement. And I thought it was interesting when President Trump was talking to reporters, he was saying, look, this isn't like, we're not pulling back. We're not getting away from the core mission. I'm shaking things up. This is what we do. Here's how he responded.
Mr. President, why did you decide to shake up your leadership team in Minnesota and send Tom Homan?
I do that all the time. I shake up teams. Everybody here, these are a lot of owners of farms and places, and you shake up your team. If they can't do the crops fast enough, they go, look, we have an incredible team. We did something that nobody said was possible. We didn't go back to Congress and ask for legislation. We closed the border. And in the last 8 months, they have, and this is actually hard to believe, nobody crossed the border, right? Nobody. They say nobody. I don't even know if that's possible. It's Democrats that do the report.
He's not wrong about that. Nobody crossed the border.
Yeah.
He fixed that like that, and he did it without legislation, and he did it by sheer will.
And the reason he has to send in Tom Homan is because someone else opened the border in the last administration, and his federal agents have to go in there and find these illegals that cross the border and are committing crimes and have charges against them, some bad charges, mind you. So Donald Trump says he plans to de-escalate the immigration situation in Minnesota a little, he says. First step to change is obviously to replace Greg Bovino with Tom Homan. And Tom Homan actually met with Governor Walz yesterday, as you know, and met with the mayor, Mayor Fry. And he said, we all agree we need to support law enforcement officers and get criminals off the streets. So he says we all agree that the criminals need to get off the streets. While we don't agree on everything, these meetings were productive and a starting point, and I look forward to more conversations with the key stakeholders in the days ahead. And Mayor Fry, sometimes he says he wants to work with federal immigration agents and he wants to get the criminals off the streets. But yesterday he said he does not and will not enforce federal immigration laws. But then he said he'll continue to have conversations with Tom Homan and his team.
Ainsley, you hit on a point that's really important to understand in the larger scheme of things. And that is when you look at CBP, under CBP is Border Patrol and ICE. Border Patrol covers our southern border and northern border. The border is unprecedentedly closed. 8 straight months of no releases, as you pointed out, Charlie. No one thought that was possible. It was. But during the 4 years of the 12 million plus illegal aliens that were allowed to come in Biden's open border policies, many of them have gone on to commit crimes. So the second piece is for ICE to do the interior. That's what they do and remove them. The mandate in 2024 that President Trump got elected on was to make the country safer, alleviate national security and public security threats. And you can't do it by just closing the border. You got to do the second part, which is to remove them. And in places like Minneapolis, there are a lot of those criminals. ICE identified 470 that have been released on the streets. They're trying to clean it up.
However much Fry and Walz are flip-flopping now about what their position is, their actions are very clear. They have created an atmosphere where it's very dangerous to send these agents in to carry out their constitutional responsibilities, and reevaluating the situation is something only a mature adult who actually wants to accomplish something and get something done and solve a problem would do.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.
Let's cover 10 pro tips for working with the Cursor agent. So I've got Cursor open and my agent on the right. And the first tip is to use plan mode. So in the agent input,
Okay, done with that one.
It's a coordinated operation, and Minneapolis just proved it. What you're about to hear comes straight from a private signal chat
This one's actually
used during ICE
2 minutes.
activity in Minneapolis. They call it community safety. Listen to the instructions, though. They organize mobile patrols, stationary monitors, and dispatchers. That's not activism. That's command and control. They say they're not police. Then why are they running patrol routes? Participants are told to stay on group calls while driving, relay locations in real time, and coordinate responses when ICE is spotted. That's not observing. That's tracking. They instruct people to photograph license plates and check them against a shared list. Ask yourself, who keeps a list like that and why? They're told to lay on horns, follow vehicles, and chase them off on public roads during federal operations. That's not free speech. That's interference. No one here is accusing anyone of a crime, but when civilians organize patrols, run dispatch, track vehicles, and coordinate responses, that's not protest culture. That's obstruction culture. ICE enforces federal law. These groups organize to stop it. And now you've seen how. Watch carefully. This is bigger than Minneapolis. This isn't a protest. It's a coordinated operation, and Minneapolis just proved it. What you're about to hear.
Okay, our TikTok lady. This lady on TikTok, she's kind of new, and I don't know if this is true or not.
Verhindern. Man braucht nur Prüfungen, Aufsicht und ein wenig Rechenschaftspflicht. Das ist angeblich dieser Frau zu verdanken, der Gründerin und CEO von ELNC, Dr. N.H.
I don't want to play that one. I don't know about that one. All right, Ed. I got about 5 minutes, I think this one is.
Especially the Patriots. And especially you rhino Republicans, all these Republicans getting together all over the nation. They getting in their little suits and ties and they getting all fancy up. And they got to just go in there and they got the women got their purses, like driving Miss Daisy. Remember Miss Daisy? She walked around with her little purse. They just want to be seen. They want to drink their champagne and their bubbly, and they want to go in there and they're setting all their stuff. Oh, they're getting, hey, you got what kind of job can I get with you? All this stuff. It's all for seen. Where the rubber meets the road, where everything's taking place, laws and orders. The people who are really in command. Not this. This ain't command. The people who are really in command, who are really in charge. That's what's taking place. That's what you seek. That's what you have to seek to understand. So if you don't want, this is for all of those who are too.
Okay, that's a short one on that one. I got another lady TikTok there. 2 minutes again.
Issue to somebody and you start arguing about it, and then before you know it, you're arguing about something completely different that had nothing to do with the issue that you brought up. Now all of a sudden you're defending yourself instead of still trying to talk about the original issue. Do you know what I'm talking about? That exact same thing has happened to us nationally. We were all talking about the disappearing money for a few weeks. Things were getting hot and heating up, and the spotlight was being shined down on that. Now, all of a sudden, we're not talking about that anymore. We're talking about something different. Instead of talking about the money that disappeared and who made it disappear, now we're talking about the people that are trying to make those same people disappear to another country. And people are upset about it. And we completely lost where we were and any movement forward we had in this. I mean, people were mad. They were wanting to do a tax strike this year, not pay their taxes because of all the disappearing money. Now, all of a sudden, everybody's wanting to pay their taxes to get the $2,000 tax return. What has happened? How did we lose focus so quickly? Are we all just major ADHD cases? What is going on? We need to be smarter. This is craziness. What do you think? I mean, have you noticed? Have you noticed how the talking points completely changed? Drop me a note in the comments and let me know. Let's discuss it.
Another good one from her.
On this equipment to dig up a railroad while there's 50 million people sitting in line behind us. We're just sitting here waiting. So look, two things. The Philadelphia mayor decided he wanted to get involved. Since Tom Homan is trying to work things out with Waltz, Philadelphia mayor said, well, I'll take on that slack. So how about he has compared the ICE agents to Razzies, called them that, didn't compare them, told them we are going to hunt you down like they did the Razzies. And basically just called for people to just take them out. That's what just happened. Fetterman has spoke out against it. Fetterman is saying, round up the criminal illegals and get them out of here. Guys, you know what? I used to say bring Fetterman onto our side, but now I say keep him over there. I like him. At least he's the voice of reason. He doesn't vote for this crap. By the way, did you know that ICE is already fully funded? So when they shut down the government Friday, so they don't fund ICE, ICE is already fully funded already. So they're just going to shut down the government because that's the hill they want to die on. And they wanted to do everything they can to destroy this government. I'm going to tell you something right now. If you don't get your ass out and vote in the midterms, we're all FUCKED as hard as we can be with no lube. You understand me? The other thing, Iran has unalived 36,000 of their citizens. They have got reports back that they were throwing the bodies in body bags so fast they didn't even care if they were still alive. They were people still moving around, still gasping, still alive. Zipped them up, threw them right over there where they, I guess, buried them in a mass hole. I'm not sure. Threw them in body bags. Trump has a fleet headed to Iran as hard as it can, and Iran has come out and said, "Come on, bitch, because if you screw with us, you're going to have hell like you've never seen." Well, let me tell you something, Iran. We're not a bunch of innocent citizens that you have took your guns from, that you are blasting away women, children, and people over there, just unaliving them left and right, you sadistic motherfuckers. Trump ain't playing. He will blow your asses off the map. Have you forgot about Mondero? We came in the middle of the night, snatched his ass right out of his damn pajamas. Okay? Right. So that's the update for right now. From what I have right now. Let's see what happens with Iran. By the way, when we come over there and start kicking ass, you don't think the Iranian citizens are going to be even more emboldened to do what they want to do? And y'all leftists, y'all over here fighting against the men who are trying to remove the people who think the way the Iranians do, who are unaliving our people. But it ain't about that, is it? It's about y'all getting paid. Y'all all in this big old chat group y'all got, and every one of y'all's got a fucked up issue. And y'all think y'all gonna save the illegals, and that means y'all gonna save yourself. Y'all are all fucked up individuals. Guys, decided to give you an update.
That was another good one. Okay, what do we got here now? Okay.
This is probably breaking news, but it is truly a wonderful thing. The President of the United States, our President Donald Trump, has started what's called the Trump account. It officially starts tomorrow. For children born starting January 1st, 2025 through December 31st, 2028, millions of children are going to be able to apply and get an account. Their parents can apply for them, an account starting with $1,000. And during their life, from day one, okay, let's say they're born on January 1st or 2nd, 2025, that will accrue for 18 years till they're an adult. Then they start the world. They start into the world as an adult with some financial, I guess, grounding. It is the very first in the history of mankind. Never before has something like this happened. And never before in the United States. An actual account. The government will put forth $1,000. Now, here's the thing. There's a couple of families, I believe Mr. and Mrs. Dell, have contributed billions of dollars to this account. And basically, there's going to be other people. But this truly is a wonderful thing. For millions of children, their parents can apply. It's IRS Form 4547. It officially starts tomorrow. For children, like I said, that are born starting January 1, 2025 through December 31st, 2028, any child born between those days, they can apply for this account.
This is a good
parents can
update,
fill out the form,
with this,
and $1,000 or more dollars will be put into their account, and that child will be allowed that account will accrue its, I guess, it will amass wealth Earnings will accrue from that $1,000 investment, okay, with the stock market, etc. But more importantly, if you notice over the last several years, every single year, the stock market increases. What is happening is, I don't know if you notice, but wealth is created, okay, through the stock market. Well, wealth will be created for those children when their parents apply and they start that account. Here's an interesting point. When they turn 18, they can break out into the world and have some financial backing. Hopefully, they'll have a little education, and their parents will help them make the right investments, use that money in the right way. And I'm pretty sure the point is that they're going to have 18 years to figure out what to do with that money. And here's the really interesting point. There's thousands of ways that they can take that money when they're 18 and create even more wealth. This has never happened in the history of mankind before. Never happened before in the history of this country. The president of this country, the United States, Donald Trump, started officially, the account officially starts tomorrow, the Trump account for children. Millions will be basically allowed to apply. I don't know what to tell you. This hits me right here. It makes me weep. It really does. This is truly a wonderful thing. Hey, everybody.
Well, guys, on that one. I'm going to show a photo. Oh, wait.
Farmers, we love our farmers.
You guys see
we won
that?
this thing. I think I was voting for Kamala. Farmers, we love our farmers. We won this
The time
thing.
was
I think
4:37.
hell is voting for Kamala. You know, it's
Oh, wait.
farmers, we love our farmers. We won this thing. I think hell is.
Okay, that was just a calm thing there. Will be. Got a cue video.
To turn your words. What's up, family? Welcome back to Out of the Darkness. I am Q. So I don't talk about this whole thing a lot, but it's something that is still 100% important to me. The most important right that we have as citizens, in my opinion, is the right to pick and choose our leaders, the right to have free and fair elections. I don't care so much about whether or not the vote goes right or left. And hear me out when I say this. I care about making sure that it's right. I care about making sure that the will of the people was actually followed. If it is a free and a fair election, I can deal with the results, is all I'm saying. But unfortunately, once people no longer believe that their voice matters, once people believe that there are other people pulling the strings except for themselves and except for their votes, and their leaders are being not voted for, but being implanted, then that's when we no longer have a republic. That's when people start to turn violent. Because if people can't feel that they can change their country via the vote, then they feel the only other way that they can change their country is through force. And that's not something that we want to see, not in this country. And so it is so important to get this right. Donald Trump believes that, and that's why today the FBI is on the ground in Fulton County.
Hey,
we know that Georgia had some terrible fraud in 2020. And no, we have not forgotten. Trump certainly has not forgotten. There were thousands, tens of thousands of votes that were submitted fraudulently, and they still to this day have not been fixed. And now, thank goodness, the FBI is there, and the FBI is doing their own investigation 5 years later, but better late than 6 years later. Golly, but better late than never. And I love the fact that they are getting to the bottom of it. And I'm so thankful that President Trump is refusing to let this go. And to be honest with you, I don't think that he would be letting it go even if he wasn't the one who was the recipient of the fraud, that he was the one that was affected by the fraud. Because at the end of the day, for our country to continue moving forward, for our country to continue a peaceful one, it is important for people to be able to respect and to trust our election system. So the FBI is on the ground. They are ensuring, well, that the people who were responsible for the fraud are going to be punished accordingly, and I'm here for it. This is what I voted for, and I know this is what many of you voted for as well. But I'll see you guys next time. Be blessed. Pray for our president. Pray for our country. Pray for those agents that are on the ground in Fulton County, and hope that they will find what needs to be found and punish those that need to be punished. I'll see you guys next time. Be blessed.
Hey, the first Q video. Okay, let's see what we got here. 2 parts on this one.
About your recent home purchase. On June 15th, 2025, you and your partner, Riley Roberts, purchased a $4.2 million mansion in Wesley Heights, one of D.C.'s most exclusive neighborhoods. You paid cash, no mortgage, $4.2 million cash. Deputy FBI Director Dan Bongino's voice filled the House Ethics Committee hearing room. He wasn't shouting, wasn't being dramatic, just stating facts in that calm cop who knows he's got you tone that made every word land harder. He paused. Let that number sink in. Your congressional salary is $174,000 per year. You've been in Congress for 6 years. Even if you saved every penny, which you didn't, you'd have just over $1 million. So I'm asking you a simple question. Where did the other $3 million come from? Silence. Complete, heavy, crushing silence. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez sat at the witness table, 3 expensive lawyers in tailored suits flanking her. The irony wasn't lost on anyone in the room. The Democratic Socialist Congresswoman, who'd built her entire brand fighting wealthy elites, was surrounded by attorneys who probably charged more per hour than most of her constituents made in a day. It was November 3rd, 2025, a closed-door session of the House Ethics Committee deep in the Capitol basement. Technically closed to the press and public, but being recorded for the official record. The room was packed. Every committee member present. Staff lined the walls. Stenographers capturing every word. Everyone knew something big was about to break. A OC wore a burgundy blazer over a black top, gold hoop earrings, her signature bold red lipstick. the carefully cultivated aesthetic of the working-class congresswoman from the Bronx, relatable, authentic, one of the people. She'd turned that look into a brand worth millions. Magazine covers, fashion blog features, viral social media moments. But sitting across from Dan Bongino with his binders full of financial records, she didn't look quite so confident anymore. There was tension in her jaw. Her hands gripped the edge of the table. Her eyes kept darting to her lawyers, looking for guidance that wasn't coming. She'd thought this hearing was about the Met Gala dress controversy from last year. The tax the rich dress she'd worn that had triggered conservatives so beautifully. Old news, easily defensible, already explained to death on Twitter. Congresswoman Ocasio.
Okay, that was part one. Not that one yet. Yeah, part two.
FBI financial investigation showing she'd become a multimillionaire by grifting the working-class supporters she claimed to represent. Bongino sat calmly at the witness table. Former NYPD cop, former Secret Service agent who'd protected presidents, current deputy director of the FBI. He looked exactly like what he was, someone who'd spent decades following money trails and building cases against criminals. Next to him sat Special Agent Jennifer Martinez from the Financial Crimes Unit, laptop open, ready to pull up any document they needed. In front of Bongino were two thick binders with official FBI markings. He'd spent the morning reviewing every page one final time. Bank records, wire transfer documentation, LLC formation papers, tax returns, real estate deeds, photographs of mansions and designer gowns. 14 months of investigation distilled into evidence that couldn't be spun away. A OC tried to answer his question about the mansion. Her voice came out defensive, almost rehearsed. My finances are private. This is harassment of a woman of color who dares to challenge the establishment. Your finances became public interest. Bongino interrupted smoothly. When you bought a mansion you can't possibly afford on a government salary while claiming to represent working people. Let me show you where the money came from. He pulled out bank statements, slid copies across the table to each committee member with a practiced motion. The sound of paper sliding across polished wood was the only noise in the room. 3 wire transfers, all within 1 week of your home purchase. He pointed to the highlighted transactions. June 8th, $1.2 million from an LLC called Progressive Future Fund. Registered in Delaware, no disclosed donors. June 10th, $1.5 million from Grassroots Action Network. Another Delaware LLC. Also, no disclosed donors. June 12th, $1.5 million from Democratic Advancement Coalition. You guessed it. Delaware LLC. No disclosed donors. He looked up from the documents, let his eyes meet hers. These aren't grassroots donations from working people giving $15 because they believe in you. These are dark money vehicles, shell companies designed to hide where funding comes from. And we traced them. Took us months, but we followed every dollar. They all lead back to the same place. He paused, made her wait for it. She was about...
Okay, AOC update, you guys. Got a 6-minute Trump speech, if anybody didn't see that.
fundamental right is allowed to perish, then the rest of our rights and liberties will topple. Just like dominoes, one by one, they'll go down. That's why today I'm announcing my plan to shatter the left-wing censorship regime and to reclaim the right to free speech for all Americans. And reclaim is a very important word in this case because they've taken it away. In recent weeks, bombshell reports have confirmed that a sinister group of deep state bureaucrats, Silicon Valley tyrants, left-wing activists, and depraved corporate news media have been conspiring to manipulate and silence the American people. They have collaborated to suppress vital information on everything from elections to public health. The censorship cartel must be dismantled and destroyed, and it must happen immediately. And here's my plan. First, within hours of my inauguration, I will sign an executive order banning any federal department or agency from colluding with any organization, business, or person to censor, limit, categorize, or impede the lawful speech of American citizens. I will then ban federal money from being used to label domestic speech as mis or disinformation. And I will begin the process of identifying and firing every federal bureaucrat who has engaged in domestic censorship, directly or indirectly, whether they are the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Health, Human Services, the FBI, the DOJ, no matter who they are. Second, I will order the Department of Justice to investigate all parties involved in the new online censorship regime, which is absolutely destructive and terrible, and to aggressively prosecute any and all crimes identified. These include possible violations of federal civil rights law, campaign finance laws, federal election law, securities law, and antitrust laws, the Hatch Act, and a host of other potential criminal, civil, regulatory, and constitutional offenses. To assist in these efforts, I am urging House Republicans to immediately send preservation letters, and we have to do this right now, to the Biden administration, the Biden campaign, and every Silicon Valley tech giant, ordering them not to destroy evidence of censorship. Third, upon my inauguration as president, I will ask Congress to send a bill to my desk revising Section 230 to get big online platforms out of censorship business. From now on, digital platforms should only qualify for immunity protection under Section 230 if they meet high standards of neutrality, transparency, fairness, and non-discrimination. We should require these platforms to increase their efforts to take down unlawful content such as child exploitation and promoting terrorism, while dramatically curtailing their power to arbitrarily restrict lawful speech. Fourth, we need to break up the entire toxic censorship industry that has arisen under the false guise of tackling so-called mis- and disinformation. The federal government should immediately stop funding all nonprofits and academic programs that support this authoritarian project. If any U.S. university is discovered to have engaged in censorship activities or election interferences in the past, such as flagging social media content for removal of blacklisting, those universities should lose federal research dollars and federal student loan support for a period of 5 years and maybe more. We should also enact new laws laying out clear criminal penalties for federal bureaucrats who partner with private entities to do an end run around the Constitution and deprive Americans of their First, Fourth, and Fifth Amendment rights. In other words, deprive them of their vote. And once you lose those elections, and once you lose your borders like we have, you no longer have a country. Furthermore, to confront the problems of major platforms being infiltrated by legions of former deep staters and intelligence officials, there should be a 7-year cooling off period before any employee of the FBI, CIA, NSA, DNI, DHS, or DOD is allowed to take a job at a company possessing vast quantities of U.S. user data. Fifth, the time has finally come for Congress to pass a digital Bill of Rights. This should include a right to digital due process. In other words, government officials should need a court order to take down online content, not send information requests such as the FBI was sending to Twitter. Furthermore, when users of big online platforms have their content or accounts removed, throttled, shadow banned, or otherwise restricted, no matter what name they use, they should have the right to be informed that it's happening, the right to a specific explanation of the reason why, and the right to a timely appeal. In addition, all users over the age of 18 should have the right to opt out of content moderation and curation entirely and receive an unmanipulated stream of information if they so choose. The fight for free speech is a matter of victory or death for America and for the survival of Western civilization itself. When I am president, this whole rotten system of censorship and information control will be ripped out of the system at large. There won't be anything left. By restoring free speech, we'll begin to reclaim our democracy and save our nation. Thank you, and God bless America.
I hope that was okay. I wasn't sure how old that was. That's a good speech. All right, we got some Nick videos coming up. I got 3 Doug videos tonight.
Down $15 a month. Cancel anytime. Deal ends January 30th.
The left's narrative on just collapsed in utter fashion, ladies and gentlemen. This innocent man, this ICU nurse, this white knight that was just there protecting women, that is over, folks. This footage destroys all of that. Ladies and gentlemen, this new video obtained by the BBC shows Alex Preddy, and by the way, this is 1 week before the CBP incident. He was spitting on federal agents, kicked out a taillight, flipped him the bird. He was armed, and he did all this basically begging for a confrontation with law enforcement. So this innocent guy that would never hurt a fly, well, turns out he's a real big piece of you know what. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, let's take a look. You guys got to see this.
This is a moment the news movement filmed on January 13th in Minneapolis, showing
January 13th, 1 week before,
a man who
he just hawked to it. You saw it.
Appears to be Alex Preddy interacting with federal immigration agents 11 days before Border
Bam! Kicked the taillight clean off.
Patrol shot and killed him.
That's destruction of federal property. You can see he's flipping the bird, just begging for it. I'm telling this guy had a death wish. This is begging for suicide by cop, if I do say so myself. You kick the taillight off of the Ford Expedition of federal law enforcement.
Our footage was analyzed by the BBC, whose facial recognition technology confirmed his identity to a 97% degree of accuracy.
Resisting arrest once again. And they just said, for anybody doubting that this is legit, I mean, my first reaction was this has to be AI. Okay, well, this footage, which was taken by TNM, they gave it to the BBC. The BBC ran it through facial recognition software, and they just said they had like a 97% accuracy match. So the BBC and a lot of credible sources are claiming this is actually Alex Preddy 1 week before he was gunned down and killed by law enforcement. And remember, we just got the report from mainstream media, The Hill, CNN, they all reported this, that 1 week before the clash that ended in his death, he got into a confrontation with ICE and they broke his ribs. So this must be the actual video footage of that confrontation. Now, the most interesting part about this, and I'm not going to play too much of this clip. I just got a copyright strike, so I'm a little hesitant to play this clip all the way through. They give a little commentary. They play the clip again. We watched the meat and potatoes, I promise. But another key detail here, they let him go. They actually left the scene. After that altercation with the alleged Alex Preddy, the law enforcement officers left the scene. They let him go. He was not even arrested, okay? And this, again, was a week before CBP claimed his life, okay? So what does this tell us? This whole narrative that he was an innocent man. He was out walking his dog. He was just getting a coffee when he saw a couple of poor women getting pushed to the ground, and he stepped in and said, stop. You know, the white knight that he is, the hero. This guy was a militant domestic terrorist. We did the video yesterday where we exposed the fact that Alvin Q, this alias that he was using, was actively participating in these Signal chats. The day that he died, he was responding to a Signal message from these other commanders in the Signal chats. He was responding to other activists calling for backup at a donut shop. He said, I'm on my way. And he went to the location to interfere with ICE. This is who the mainstream media wants you to believe Alex Preddy is, this ICU nurse. Look at him in front of the American flag. He's a patriotic nurse. He treats veterans. He's a hero. Oh, and he's an outdoorsman. He loves riding bikes and hiking. He had a full life that was taken from him prematurely by these masked men, these Gestapo that Trump sent in there. No. Okay, this is who Alex Preddy is. This psychopath, this deranged lunatic with a freaking death wish, this taillight kicking, bird flipping psycho. Look at this psychopath. You can see, look, his gun is right there on his hip. And somehow he managed to get away from that altercation unscathed, despite the fact that he brought that one on himself. I mean, that was 10 times worse than the one that ended his life. But ladies and gentlemen, this is who we're dealing with. This is who they're defending. This is who they're telling you is a hero. And you want me to have sympathy for that guy and call it a tragedy. I'm sorry, ladies. Maybe I'm a little bit of a psychopath, but I have for somebody who's on a Ford Expedition filled with federal officers, kick their taillight out, resist arrest while brandishing a Sig Sauer custom pistol that is visible to the officers as they're wrestling him to the ground. That same guy gets away unscathed and then a week later does it again. Oh, but Nick Moseder, you sound so callous. You sound so cold. Where's your empathy? It's still a tragedy. I'm sorry, guys. I just don't have it in me. Okay, you play stupid games and stupid prizes. The mainstream media's narrative on this, they have lost all credibility by trying to make this guy into a martyr. And ladies and gentlemen, this is not going to end well. This is not going to end well for the Democrats like Chuck Schumer that come Friday are going to attempt to shut down the government because they refuse to sign off on a bill.
Okay, I'll get the second one. These are okay, this one's the one. 14 minutes, guys. 14. Then I'll do some shorts.
That's right. The FBI is kicking from a Fulton County election facility. Now, the DOJ has declined to give any details. The FBI has declined to give any details, and the Secretary of State's office has declined to give any details. And people on X are reporting, hey, there's something going on in Fulton County, but nobody seems to know exactly what, except me. Old Nick Moseder, the election integrity OG, is on you guys because I know exactly why this is happening. Just let you guys an hour ago, I got a strike on my YouTube strike. And I know what happened last time. I got 1 strike, then 2, 3 strikes, you're out. That's YouTube's policy. So I got down for using a clip in one of my videos that was by Fox News and many other content creators, but for some reason I got a copyright strike. And so now my channel is stained and tainted and no longer in good standing with YouTube. So in an effort to make sure that we never lose contact, I'm asking you guys to follow me on X at the Nicky Mo in case you guys log in one day, Nick Moseder disappeared again. This has happened before, so I want to make sure this time we don't lose touch. Go to x.com and follow me at the Nicky Mo. That way, if something happens, I can still reach you guys. Now, let's get into exactly what is happening in Fulton County right now. Now, first and foremost, I want to point out the fact that the FBI is executing a search warrant means that they had enough evidence to go to a judge and get a judge to agree that there is probable cause to go and execute a search warrant. Okay, that's pretty big. That something shady is going down at Fulton County. They are hiding something. They are not cooperating. They are not complying. Something happened here that they were able to take the evidence and go to a judge, and the judge said, yeah, I see. There's probable cause here. Go ahead and kick in a door to get the evidence you need as part of the investigation that you're trying to carry out, but the Fulton County election officials aren't cooperating or complying with, or there's possible reason to believe that they may destroy that evidence. So I'm going to give you guys the green light to go ahead, kick in the door, take what you need. That's what happened. Now, what is this pertaining to? So 11alive.com, they actually have a lot more information than Fox 5 because they reported on the fact that back in October, there was a subpoena that was issued to the Fulton County election officials, which they refused to comply with. Now, let's actually back up a couple steps because the DOJ didn't get involved until the Georgia State Election Board asked them to get involved because they were in their own battle with Fulton County and they couldn't get Fulton County to comply. So in July, they actually passed a resolution seeking assistance from the U.S. Attorney General to access voting materials. The state board sent subpoenas to the county last year and again on October 6th, requesting all used and void ballots, stubs of all ballots, signature envelopes, and corresponding envelope digital files from the 2020 election. They refused to comply with that, and that's when the Justice Department sent a letter to the County Election Board October 30th, citing the Federal Civil Rights Act and asking for all records. So they refused to comply with Georgia State Election Board. And then after they refused to comply with the Georgia State Election Board, the DOJ hit them with subpoenas. They refused to comply with them as well. And last month in December, the DOJ finally decided to hit them with a lawsuit.
Rules, commands, MCP servers, agents, modes, hooks, tools. There's a lot of stuff.
This court-authorized action in Fulton County comes after the Department of Justice last month sued Fulton County over access to 2020 election materials. Fox News and Reuters both report the action Wednesday is related to the 2020 election. So the action that you're seeing today, where the FBI is executing a search warrant at a Fulton County election facility, comes after a long string of instances where Fulton County has refused to comply with lawful requests and subpoenas. It is part of an ongoing lawsuit. And this isn't the first lawsuit. Let's remember, this goes all the way back to the early days following the 2020 election with voter GA and Garland Favorito. Because those of you guys that are OGs, you've been following this for a long time, you're like me, you were obsessed after the 2020 election and you followed everything that took place afterwards. You remember voter GA and Garland Favorito, right? Garland Favorito's group, Voter GA, they actually sued Fulton County over the production of the ballots pertaining to the 2020 election. But Fulton County refused to turn over the ballots, even though in March 2021, a Georgia judge ruled in favor of Voter GA, saying that they are allowed and that Fulton County must unseal the ballots and allow an inspection for invalid votes. The Georgia Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, petitioned the court to keep the Fulton County ballots sealed. And so this fight has been going on since March of 2021, and Fulton County has still refused to allow the inspection of those ballots. Many people believe that the ballots have been destroyed, that they no longer exist. But at some point, the DOJ actually stepped in. They saw what was happening to Voter GA, Garland Favorito, the refusal of Fulton County to comply. And so the DOJ stepped in, and they actually hit Fulton County with subpoenas to get them to comply and turn over this evidence, and they refused to do it. They unlawfully disregarded those subpoenas. So now the FBI is kicking in doors to go in and seize it. That's what's happening, ladies and gentlemen. Now, there's plenty of evidence that the FBI could have taken to the judge to prove probable cause and possible obstruction. But I want to point out that we've had two major developments coming out of Fulton County regarding the 2020 election. Back in December, Fulton County actually admitted that 315,000 early ballots were illegally certified in the 2020 election, meaning they didn't actually sign the vote tabulator tapes. They were never properly certified and signed off on per law, Georgia law, and they broke the chain of custody for these tapes. But, you know, despite that fact, they certified the election anyway. Fulton County actually produced 0 signed tabulator tapes in early voting. 0, zilch, nada. The sole legal certification that the reported totals are authentic. So that's like the main proof that these ballots are legit. You have to sign off on the tabulator tapes. If you don't sign off on them, then we don't have any ability to certify this election, but they did it anyway. Now, just last week, we had an even bigger, more explosive update coming out of Fulton County. And this was covered by Brian Lupo, our good friend CanCon, who knows more about Fulton County in the 2020 election than anybody out there. I mean, Brian Lupo, CanCon, is the guy on Fulton County. And so this article lays out and proves that the Fulton County election officials, including Director Richard Barron and Nadine Williams, were aware of the fact that the hand count audit results conducted by Brad Raffensperger after the 2020 election was falsely inflated and did not match the machine count days before the election was certified. So if you guys remember, after 2020, right, there was a lot of discrepancies and there was a lot of scrutiny on Fulton County. So what Brad Raffensperger did is he said, okay, let's look at the machine totals. And what we're going to do is we're going to conduct a hand count and see if the hand count totals match what the machine said. And this was Brad Raffensperger. This was his way of quelling all of the scrutiny. This was his way of putting it to bed. He conducted a hand count and he said, look, the hand count totals match the machine totals. But then what happened in Georgia is actually a law was passed which required the state to make available to the public the ballot images. So the ballot images suddenly became available to the public. And there was this guy named Joseph Rossi that actually submit a FOIA request and got his hands on the ballot images, which when I say ballot images, what I mean is when a ballot goes through a machine, it gets scanned and there's a ballot image that's created. And so people were all of a sudden able to go and submit a Freedom of Information Act request to the government and say, I want to get access to these ballot images. And Joseph Rossi did that. And what he did was he actually audited Brad Raffensperger's hand count. And what Joseph Rossi found was that Brad Raffensperger's hand count was completely fictitious. It was all fabricated. It was fake. Okay, so this article lays out the fact that they knew this days before the election was certified and then certified it anyway. And so before the Georgia State Election Board, Joseph Rossi was able to present the fact that he had an email sent by Michael Pendergrass of the third-party NGO, the Elections Group, which proves that these officials knew of significant discrepancies, including double-counted ballots and a 17,000 vote shortfall that was later backfilled. So what they had was, after this hand count, there were 17,000 ballots short, and then they fabricated those 17,000 ballots to make sure it matched the machine totals that were the official numbers reported. And so we have this smoking gun email that proves top election officials in Fulton County, specifically Director Richard Barron and his deputy Nadine Williams, they knew the 2020 election results were flawed, and they certified the election anyway. And so to summarize, there are multiple instances, 2 in recent history, of Fulton County election officials admitting that there were problems in the 2020 election that would throw the certified results into question, but they certified it anyway. And they have been an absolute refusal to let anybody look under the hood. And it makes you wonder why. If you have nothing to hide, then show us your cards. Those who have nothing to hide nothing, right? But let's remember, ladies and gentlemen, let's think about it logically. If there is fraud in Fulton County, and it is proven beyond a reasonable doubt, their entire apparatus would come crashing down. Think about the consequences of their lies and their gaslighting. They jailed patriots over Fulton County. They hit the president with RICO charges. Some fat pig who couldn't keep her legs closed, Fannie Willis, charged the president with racketeering, accused him of calling up Brad Raffensperger to give him 11,000 votes, and tried to jail the president for the rest of his life and keep him off the ballot in the 2024 election. They destroyed people's lives. They kicked conservatives off social media. They accused the president of inciting an insurrection for calling out what happened in Fulton County, Georgia, and across the country. If there was fraud in Fulton County and elsewhere, there was 4 years of an illegitimate administration. All of the cabinet appointees, all of the laws that were passed, all the executive orders were null and void. And so I ask you, ladies and gentlemen, to remember what's at stake here. If the FBI just kicked in a door and seized the evidence that would show that there were discrepancies in Fulton County, Georgia, regarding the 2020 election, then we may see the entire apparatus come crashing down in a fiery, glorious way. So, ladies and gentlemen, it's going down in Fulton County. And I've been telling you guys, I've maintained the position that there is 100% investigations going on in the background into the 2020 election, and that justice is coming. Because you know my stance. I cannot possibly convince myself that Donald Trump would win in 2024 and not put people into position to do something about what happened in 2020. I just can't for the life of me believe that. This is like the ultimate validation and vindication, and I don't want to rub it in your guys' faces, but old Nick Moseder knows what the hell he's talking about, okay? So that's why you should like the video and subscribe. Turn the bell notifications on so you never miss another update. And make sure you follow me on X at the Nicky Mo so that we never lose.
Okay, that was a good one tonight with Nick.
There was recently some video footage leaked saying that the ice was melting away and alien spaceships were being revealed from underneath the ice. What if there's top secret military intelligence technology that's been hidden there by the bad guys?
Now, how many of you know about the object in Greenland?
We play this one.
A couple of
I think
you.
it's
Okay.
new.
Oh, for those of you that don't know, there is a spacecraft that has melted out of the ice in Greenland. As you know, the North Pole has melted completely. You can go from London to Moscow or to Russia by going over the North Pole now. All the ice cap is gone. The last place that has ice on it was Greenland. Greenland had a 18,000-foot ice cap on it. Well, the spacecraft that is anchored in the center of Greenland created the last ice age 50,000 years ago. It's a weather machine. It's 55 miles wide, 300 miles long, and 2 miles high. People that lived in it were called the Mois. If you draw a straight line from the spacecraft to the Washington Monument in Washington, D.C., through the Yucatan Peninsula Great Pyramid at Mitsubishi, and ends up on Easter Island where the Mois have been dug out of this dirt. The heads on Easter Island, well, 2 years ago, they finally went ahead and they excavated, and they're all 65 to 85 foot people, full body carvings. And these were the people that lived in the spacecraft that was uncovered that's melting out of the ice in Greenland. So when you think we've been alone, these people have been up there for 50,000 years. The spacecraft is still active after 50,000 years. It has a 200-mile dampening field where no electrons can flow into it. In 1947, a B-52 bomber flew into that pattern, into the dampening field when trying to fly between Maine and London. As a result of that, they lost power and crashed in Greenland. As they sent in rescue B-52 bombers to rescue them, they hit that same dampening field, but they veered off. They just ricocheted off of it. By testing, trying to get to these guys, they were able to bring a circumference and find out that there was an object 200 miles to the center of this field. On the southwest corner of Greenland, there is a small community. It's the only community on the island of Greenland.
2 minutes left.
That community is a military post, CIA.
I never saw it.
That uses a compressed air generator to operate diesel engines to run a Caterpillar to run back and forth 200 miles from the base to the object in Greenland. A lot of our technology comes from the reverse engineering out of the spacecraft. It is still functional and it's still in operation. So it's pretty important what this thing is. All the nations worldwide are up there with the United Nations, and they're all acting, working together.
What if Edward Snowden is coming back to tell us about it again? Remember, he came out with the articles about HAARP, explaining how the bad guys were using it nefariously, using electromagnetic wavelengths to mess with our brainstem and also manipulate the weather. And remember, in military, everything is a comm. Recently, President Trump went to the Ford plant and said, "You," and gave the middle finger.
That's unusual. That's interesting.
Q 102, Homecoming 102, Q Post 3691, Snowden, Homecoming 2020. And what if Greenland is crucial to the safety of America and the whole world? What if there's hidden technology there that used to be controlled by the bad guys, but now the good guys are in control?
You think she is? Mike?
Patriot Princess.
Context. And if we don't get this right, people are going to keep getting hurt. And here's what I'm not going to do. I'm not going to tell you ICE is perfect, and I'm not going to tell you that they're evil either, because the truth is messier than your algorithm wants you to believe.
Important here.
Before I show you what's really happening, ask yourself this. If deportations are happening in all 50 states, why is the violence only happening in a few places? I needed to hold that thought. Let's start with what we can all agree on, which is the facts. Let me try and disarm you by saying anyone dying is horrific, full stop. The 2 people who die didn't deserve to die. We're clear on that. But here's where it gets complicated, and this is the part that's going to make some of you uncomfortable. The uncomfortable truth is those same 2 people put themselves in an incredibly dangerous situation. Now, before you click away, both of these things can be true at the same time. They didn't deserve to die, and they made a fatal mistake. Your brain wants to pick one or the other, but reality doesn't work that way. Remember that question from earlier? Here's the answer that's going to blow your mind. Minnesota only accounts for 2% of total deportations. 2%. So why is all the violence happening there? It's the leadership. Tim Walz and Jacob Frey are literally pouring gasoline on this fire. They're using the exact same playbook that we've seen before. This is the BLM playbook, step by step. 1, tragic incident occurs. 2, leaders inflame tensions instead of calming them. 3, peaceful protests turn violent. 4, cities burn. 5, the people running the movement get rich, but nothing actually improves. Don't believe me? The Marxist leaders of BLM use millions in donations to buy themselves mansions while not helping a single Black family. That's not opinion, that's a documented fact. Want to see what actual peaceful protests look like? The Canadian trucker convoy. Organizers wouldn't even let people swear on the PA system because kids might hear it. No windows were smashed, no officers attacked, no federal agents threatened. The result? They still got pepper sprayed and trampled by horses while holding hands and praying. But the current ICE protests, federal agents have been assaulted, windows smashed, their guns grabbed, and threats were made. The result? Media still calls them mostly peaceful, but that's clearly not the case. Now, here's something that's going to break your brain. Obama deported way more people than Trump, by a lot. The difference? The media supported Obama's deportations. So there were no riots, no violence, and people complied. So exact same actions, different media coverage, different results. Look, I'm about to give you a simple test to see if you've been propagandized. Ready? If you're outraged about ICE but said nothing when illegal immigrants were charged with murdering American women and children, you've been propagandized. If you're calling ICE Gestapo but said nothing about vaccine passports and speech policing, you've been propagandized. The consistency of belief matters. And look, let me blast you with some facts here. Most deportees have criminal records. Some deportees are innocent of crimes beyond illegal entry. Illegal entry is still a crime. You're being lied to about tear gassing babies and a bunch of different scenarios. And innocent people are also probably getting hurt in the chaos. There are so many both is true scenarios, but violence is only happening where the local leaders are encouraging it. Your brain wants to reject some of these. That's the propaganda working. The real question, the question isn't whether you like ICE. The question is, do you want the situation to get better or worse? Because here's what makes it worse. Violent riots disguised as protests
Pretty
gonna
good,
make it
I
worse.
think.
Local leaders calling federal agents
This is an
Nazis,
important one.
refusing to let ICE do their job safely, treating every deportation like a war crime. And here's what makes it better. Holding bad actors accountable on all sides, letting legal processes work, protecting everyone's rights while enforcing the law, leaders who calm tensions instead of inflaming them. And you also have a choice right now. You can keep consuming and posting black and white content that makes you feel righteous but solves absolutely nothing, or you can accept that reality is complex and start demanding better from everyone involved. And it starts right here with the words that we are using, the content that we are making. And if everyone could just really zoom out for a minute, the people profiting from this chaos don't want it to end. The angrier you stay, the more powerful they become. Don't let them use you.
That was good. Yep. Paige taking the evening off. Just resting. I got a short clip. We'll do some short clips. I don't know if anybody saw this. I can't play that. It has music on. Okay, let's go up and do a couple of other TikTok lady.
A miracle. One Antifa protester discovers mid-riot he can walk again.
There's smoke grenades that initially came out. I know the smell of smoke.
I'm not sure what just happened there. But you guys can see the amount of crap that's now on the ground out here.
Police brutality against the disabled is a lot harder to claim when you forget to stay seated. And that wasn't the only performance art happening this weekend. Our liberal friends who famously hate borders were very busy building their own right in the middle of Minneapolis. And to make matters worse, the same people who can't define what a woman is now can't define law enforcement either.
And quit referring to these people as law enforcement. They are not law enforcement.
This is what happens when ideology replaces definitions. And no wonder there is so much fraud running rampant in the state. These leaders, they can't grasp basic biology or who actually enforces the law. Kristi Noem fired back with this.
I'll remind you that Governor Walz today in his press conference said that our officers were not even law enforcement, which is a lie. He's called them the Gestapo. He's encouraged residents and citizens and violent rioters to resist. He's doxed their identities, putting themselves and their families' lives in jeopardy. He's refused to turn over murderers to federal law enforcement officers. He's protected illegal criminals and protected them from being brought to justice, and even overseen a historic, unprecedented theft of American taxpayer dollars.
Now, after Secretary Noem laid into Governor Walz, he didn't correct himself. He doubled down by comparing Minnesota and ICE to Nazi Germany again.
Many of us grew up reading that story of Anne Frank. Somebody's going to write that children's story about Minnesota.
Oh, no book necessary. We already saw the movie where Tim Walz instructed his National Guard to paintball citizens for stepping outside of their home during COVID. Just hours after another fatal ICE-involved shooting, Minneapolis witnessed a miracle. One Antifa protester discovers mid-riot he can walk again.
I got two more of her to play. Then we'll get to Billy Bean. Then we'll do Doug after Billy.
To expose who's cashing in on it. Plus, Karine Jean-Pierre drops her binder and decides to write a brand new controversial book. But first, President Biden went missing at the White House, and you're never going to believe where Secret Service found him. Welcome to the Carrie Lane Show. I'm Carrie Lane. We all knew Joe Biden's cognitive decline was accelerating, but I'll be honest, I had no idea it was this bad.
This Secret Service whistleblower actually was assigned to Biden, and he told me that Biden used to get lost in his closet in the mornings in the White House. I mean, the guy literally stumbling around in the White House residence couldn't find his way out of his own closet. The president of the United States. I mean, this is outrageous.
If the closet story wasn't troubling enough, it gets worse. Speaker Mike Johnson was reflecting back on a conversation he had with President Biden when he had no idea that he had signed off on a major policy decision that could impact our national security.
Sir, why did you pause LNG exports to Europe? Like, I don't understand, liquefied natural gas is in great demand by our allies. Why would you do that? Because you understand, we just talked about Ukraine. You understand you're fueling Vladimir Putin's war machine because they got to get their gas from him, And he looks at me stunned with this, and he said, I didn't do that. And I said, Mr. President, yes, you did. It was an executive order 3 weeks ago. He goes, no, I didn't do that. And he's arguing with me. He genuinely did not know what he had signed.
He forgets signing a major executive order that could empower Putin. And now even Democrats are starting to whisper about what the rest of the country already saw. One senator watched Biden up close and walked away thinking, no wonder the border's a disaster.
There's a senator, Senator Bennett from Colorado, who went to an event in June 2024 where Biden seemed non-functioning, and he left that event, and this is in the book, thinking this is why our border policy, our immigration policy is such a mess. This guy can't manage the portfolio. There are competing groups within the administration, and he's not engaged for whatever reason, and that's why this policy is such a mess.
Stalking.
Okay, I got one more, and I'll make three. And Billy Bean will be next. She comes out with a lot of intel.
Accountability is feeling very aggressive to them. As subpoenas start flying and investigations inch closer to real consequences, the panic is getting loud. We've got a big show for you today with breaking news. Governor Tim Walz, Attorney General Keith Ellison, and Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Frey all had a very bad day today, courtesy of the FBI. Meanwhile, the Justice Department says mugshots may be coming soon. This as Ilhan Omar appears to be panicking over mounting evidence pointing to multiple illegal activities. Funny how transparency suddenly disappears when consequences show up. Like the video, subscribe so you don't miss any of the breaking headlines. I want to start with some exciting news. Before we dive into all of that, a big announcement today by the Second Lady, Usha Vance, posting that their family is growing. JD Vance also releasing a statement that reads in part, quote, We're very excited to share the news that Usha is pregnant with our 4th child, a boy. Usha and the baby are doing well, and we are all looking forward to welcoming him in late July. Congratulations to the both of you. We wish you nothing but the best. Okay, now to today's breaking story. The FBI department has signed, sealed, and delivered grand jury subpoenas to Governor Tim Walz and other key Minnesota officials.
The FBI has apparently just served subpoenas to several officials here in Minneapolis, including members of the office of Governor Tim Walz.
And I can now confirm that Governor Tim Walz, Attorney General Keith Ellison, Mayor Jacob Fry, St. Paul's mayor, and several other officials have all received subpoenas as part of a major investigation. Shortly after the news broke, Tim Walz, he issued a statement that reads in part, quote, "The state of Minnesota will not be drawn into political theater. This Justice Department investigation, sparked by calls for accountability in the face of violence, chaos, and the killing of Renee Good, does not seek justice. It is a partisan distraction." Well, Tim Walz and Jacob Fry, they're being accused of conspiring to impede ICE. Democrats are officially entering.
Okay, we got 3 of those in so far. All right, we'll get Billy Bean in and come back and do 3 Doug videos. Forty 41 minutes, you guys. Another big one.
I'll use today. Got level Patriot subscribers, Ancient Alarms, Redacted, Doug Casey, Bloomberg Plus. Some of the things we'll cover. Starmer gets his Chinese payoff for being a traitor to both the UK and the US and the UK. And President Trump takes steps to protect the US economy. Is a 1929 similar depression coming? And C-19 and 5G and 6G control. So let's get started. I had 2 neighbors, and thanks for like, subscribe, and share. I had 2 neighbors who were talking. The first neighbor said, "Oh, she has a YouTube channel," referring to me. And the second neighbor said, "Really? What kind?" And the first neighbor said, "Conspiracy." So with regard to the C-19 that we know began in about late December, early January 2020, by March of 2020, I knew that it was a bioweapon. Some of the sources I used, along with my own background to determine that, well, one thing I could see from a geopolitical standpoint is that you had the U.S. government plus global governments all in lockstep, taking their populations to a lockdown status. That spoke volumes to me. And I also, was praying for God to give me what's going on? ¿Qué pasó, Father? And so by March of 2020, I recognized that the COVID was a bioweapon, that this was a deep state coordinated global lockdown of all populations. I understood that by injecting a bioweapon upon the earth, there was some reason for the deep state to do that. Now, today, I'll bring out another facet of that system that was put in place. Initially, I thought it was a global bioweapon being used perhaps to juice up the profits of Big Pharma, because we saw them and my research revealed that there was existing a shot for the COVID that had been developed years before we saw the COVID come on the world stage. Hey, So that's going on. Now, some of the sources I used, in addition to God, was Dr. Chenpenny, Valuetainment, who interviewed in March of 2022 Texas A&M profs, both of whom had 50 years of experience in bioweapons, both of whom said it's a bioweapon. And Gene Decode, Cliff High, Dr. Brian Artis, Celeste Salome, who had worked for FEMA. She was a Christian and she left probably about 10 years before the COVID because she knew about the coming plan for the bioweapon. And also, one of my sources was a French virologist, a co-discoverer of AIDS, Dr. Luc Montagnier, who was also at the time COVID hit the world stage in 2020, was teaching at a Chinese university. He also came out and said it was a bioweapon. Now, he passed pretty soon after he made that public statement.
I got your pizza.
We should order pizza every game.
Before you.
He was in his 80s, but did appear to be in good health. And we had other things going on. I know Benjamin Fulton came out and said even from satellites in the sky, they can see in China the crematorium, where you take human bodies to be cremated. You could see from the sky, there were so many cremation burners going on in China that you could see it by satellite. So that's going on. And I'll explain to you what happened to the Chinese people, who apparently the Chinese government considers the Chinese people to be expendable. So we'll talk about first what's going on with the global economies. So we have the deep state and now positioning themselves to take control of the world. One is through bio warfare. Another is through economic warfare. So we saw, and I brought out in my last video, Keir Starmer, leader of the UK, who is working for China, the CCP. He's now in Beijing, no doubt, to receive his payoff. And we had even the MI5 in the UK that's comparable to the US FBI, warning the UK government about this approval by the UK government for China to have a mega embassy, tens of thousands of Chinese spies into the UK, that would present a danger for the UK. So when Keir Starmer and his team have gone to China, they're in China now, they're supposed to go to Beijing and Shanghai. The UK government sent them with burner phones and burner laptops to help protect them from Chinese spies. So that's going on.
At IHG Hotels and Resorts, you can explore the neighborhood or live like a local. Unplug for the day or plunge into a long weekend. With IHG's 20 hotel brands, you can guest how you guest.
And how much do they cost? $1,400? You know, Tacoma has 3 new irons out. Redesigned faces, re-engineered weighting, and fairly priced. They're incredible. Trust me, you won't regret it.
Now, finance. So we're hearing today, but we've been hearing and been seeing with our own lying eyes. For the last week or so, we've been seeing gold go up to $5,000 plus per ounce. We saw silver up to $114 per ounce yesterday. So when the economy is predicted or can be in the foreseeable future to go flat, a depression like 1929. The banks load up on tangible assets such as gold and silver. So we do see that going on. Now we have this from a YouTube channel, Finance Guy, talking about Germany, the Deutsche Bank, suddenly selling off its real liquid assets like government bonds, U.S. treasuries. When you see a bank selling real tangible assets, and Deutsche Bank just sold off suddenly almost $90 billion worth of its safe assets, you understand from an economic standpoint that the bank is doing that because they need cash to keep themselves liquid and a viable bank. And we're seeing, we have, the Deutsche Bank has $27 billion in unrealized losses. So what does this mean for banks? Unrealized assets. That means these are not real tangible assets like real estate or gold and silver or government bonds or U.S. treasuries. These are made up bank products. Most of them are called derivatives, which technically are only paper, and they only appear on paper, and they have no tangible value. However, banks engage in using derivatives or false assets to juice up their stock value so that they make more money. And this is also done by corporations, but primarily by banks. These are called unrealized losses. If the bank was to try and divest itself of these fake assets, the bank would go under. And what you see when there's these come due, they have a maturity date on them. When they come due, then you often see banks selling their liquid assets to get cash. You also see banks decoupling themselves from existing consumer loans. They make those loans due, whether it's a house or a car, because they need to shore up their real assets. Otherwise, the bank would go bankrupt. So we are seeing some major banks. So this is in Germany, the Deutsche Bank. I reported in my last video about the U.S. Shoring up of the Japanese currency. And now these two parts do go along with the David Wilkerson prophecy from the 70s or 80s that a global depression would occur in the future. And it would begin in Germany, it would spread to Japan, and then to the U.S. I submit, and I believe, that President Trump was put in place by God for such a time as this in the U.S. I do not expect to see the U.S. Banks going under. We have this from Doug Casey, a financial person, who's talking about
How do we stop duct taping tools together?
banks. Historically, the deep state would save the bank and let the people who had deposits there lose their money. Now in the U.S., We have the
go to 9:30,
FDIC
right?
that insures one account
okay
at one bank
want to get
for an individual up to $250,000. So
another
when
hour at least.
you may hear people talking about bail in. That's when the bank takes your money. The banks in the U.S. cannot take your money from a single account and a single bank less than $250,000. So above $250,000, all bets are off as far as I'm concerned. But most of us are safe with our bank accounts. And we've seen depressions in the U.S., a manipulation of the U.S. economy, characterized in such movies as Godfather. And we do know it's been a deep state Rothschild, Rockefeller program to control banks. We know about the City of London, the deep state financial center. We know in the U.S., the Federal Reserve, which is not a part of the U.S. government, but is the deep state out of the City of London control over the U.S. economy. Jerome Powell is the current director. And it has been the deep state historically for hundreds of years who has manipulated global banks with boom and bust and stock markets with boom and bust cycles. So we're seeing that go on right now. And we're hearing, news in the U.S. regarding the U.S. economy. I believe President Trump has our economy in control outside of deep state operations. Now we're seeing China is trying to manipulate world economies. And for the U.S., China suddenly, now it's cozying up to the UK. It's obtained a military objective, the U.S.-UK island Diego Garcia. It has obtained a mega embassy inside the UK so they can flood in up to 1 million Chinese to take control of the UK. We've seen that China has tried this operation inside the U.S., and thank God we have President Trump, who is putting the Chinese out of the U.S. China now, in the last 24 hours, has begun to cancel U.S. contracts worth billions of dollars. China has now frozen U.S. And Chinese accounts. They're not doing transactions now, suddenly, in the last 24 hours with U.S. defense contractors like Boeing, Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, General Dynamics. In other words, these U.S. defense companies were buying products from China to use in the U.S. Military application. China suddenly has closed those accounts. So China is not selling to the U.S. military industry. And China, in the last 24 hours, has ended transactions with U.S. suppliers for electrical equipment. China has also canceled contracts in the last 24 hours with U.S. companies for oil and gas. China is now pivoting from buying supplies from the U.S. to buying supplies from other BRICS nations, including India, Brazil, South Africa. So that's going on. And we have this. So this came out, I believe this is intel from Hal Turner about the U.S. economy. Indicators are leading up to something like a 1929 depression, a 2008 dip in the U.S. economy.
Hidden Valley Diablo Ranch demands a new kind of nugget. Crispy chicken nuggets from Taco Bell.
We do see gold and silver going up. We see stocks will go up until there's a run on the U.S. dollar. And part of China's economic strategy they've taken in the past 24 hours is to take down the value of the U.S. dollar to lead to a collapse of the U.S. bond market. And we have the International Monetary Fund, another global organization I believe the U.S. should get out of, prepping for a rapid sell-off of U.S. dollar assets. So we see a deep state coordinated attack against the U.S. economy. That does appear to be going on. Now, some indicators. We do have the commie Dems threaten a U.S. government shutdown in the next few days because they're up in arms about ICE, saying they won't approve anything. This funding's going to ICE. Shut up, stupid commie Dems. The upcoming, and for this week, approval in Congress is not money for ICE. That was approved months ago. This is money for Homeland Security, FEMA. And we know that the stated objective of FEMA is to help American citizens in disasters. But hey, the commie Dems don't care. So they are threatening a partial government shutdown. And we are seeing in the last 24 hours, also in the U.S., private lenders, banks, will not lend to one another. Now, we saw that happen also in 2008. That's one of the reasons that we saw in 2008 a Wall Street company, Lehman Brothers, go bankrupt. They couldn't borrow from other companies. We do see and have been seeing for several months a dip in the value of real estate while we see real estate prices going up. But the value of properties is being taken down by the appraisers. We do see an increase in the U.S. of consumer debt on their homes, cars, credit cards increasing. That's because the credit card companies, one, can now charge outrageous levels of interest up to 20 to 30%. And we have seen since the coup in 2020 in the U.S. and the fake JB coming in to destroy, on behalf of the commie Dem political party, the U.S. from within, we are still dealing with severe economic destruction by the commie Dem political party during the JB years. So that's still going on. President Trump is slowly turning the ship of America back to the right direction. But that's going on. And now we have this.
Chevy Trucks. More dependability awards for trucks than any other brand. And Chevrolet.
Packages to REM.
Yeah, we do see and have seen and are beginning to understand that the deep state controls big pharma And Big Pharma's objective is not to help a patient get well, because if the patient gets well, they make less money, but rather to increase their ability to prescribe drugs to patients. So that's coming out. We can see in the medical industry in the US significant changes in telling a patient, yes, you are at this level of blood pressure or sugar or cholesterol, so you're healthy. What we've seen since 1985 was Big Pharma and medical changing the guidelines for what is healthy so they could increase the number of their patient bases and sell and prescribe and sell more pharma. So we have this. In 1985, a measure of your blood sugar was 140, but in 2003, it was changed to 126. So, hey, more people are diabetic. In 1985, blood pressure was considered healthy at 160/100. In 2003, this was changed to 130/80. So, hey, more people needed blood pressure medicine. In 1985, we had a level for cholesterol at 280, and you were considered healthy. But in 2004, it changed to 200. So more and more Americans needed more and more pharma. So that's going on. We have this from Ancient Alarms, The Simpsons. We know this was a cartoon-like product that went on for 20, 30 years that was often predictive of what would happen in the U.S. So The Simpsons predicted by the end of 2026, the U.S. and the world would see an end of personal privacy, and that the populations would be controlled by their smartphones. And this was maybe 10, 15 years ago on Simpson, before we even knew what smartphones were. And that the military-industrial complex would use the 5G and 6G microwave system. And I have much more on this to control populations. And that there would be satellites and drones. We would even have predictive policing. And people would be able to be geolocated by their smartphones. We would see a CBDC system come in that would facilitate debanking, as we've seen occurred to President Trump and to Scott Ritter. We know that President Trump, after his first term, was debanked by, I believe that was JP Morgan Chase Bank, and President Trump is now suing them for billions of dollars. We did see recently Scott Ritter, a very outspoken person. He was a Marine. He was an inspector for nuclear sites all over the world. But he's very outspoken. And we recently saw that he was debanked by his bank. In other words, he still has money in the bank, but the bank had closed his account. So he had to go to the bank, get a check for the money in his account, and open an account in another bank. We also saw that happen, I think, last year to Kerry Cassidy. So we see the deep state controls banks, and thus they can control the bank accounts for individuals. If you get on their bad side, they just close your bank account. Now we're going to talk about COVID. So Redacted had an excellent expose segment about the COVID, how it is a bioweapon, how it was created to interact with 5G and 6G microwaves to control populations. If you want to go to Redacted, it's on YouTube. It'll be the segment that begins with the word microwaves. So they had an expert on talking about the COVID. And based on my own knowledge of COVID being a bioweapon, I could easily understand the information that was being put forth. And this individual expert talked about DARPA. So when we had the COVID come out, it was initially created in the late 1990s. This came from DARPA, which is a Black Ops division of the U.S. military. It went to Fort Detrick. And what they were doing with the COVID, so the COVID-19, they were juicing up. Anytime you take a virus into a lab and you juice it up, you create always a bioweapon because it's not natural. It was too hot for Fort Detrick, so then it went to Wuhan lab in China. And we saw this happen in China. Now, I believe that China, when they gave the C-19 shots, and we know we had a U.S. court come out and determined that the C-19 shot was not a vaccine. A vaccine
12 minutes, you guys.
primarily is supposed to be with distilled water and a dead version of a virus injected to then stimulate the human's immune system to become immune to that virus. That's a vaccine. So a U.S. court had enough science data and presentations by various doctors last year to determine that the C-19 shot was not a vaccine. It was instead a gene edit therapy. Now we have more information coming out. And I know Celeste Salone, she has a medical background, formerly with FEMA, knew about the deep state's plans. She was the first I heard to come out with the explanation that the C-19 shot included nanobots. Now, what is that? Well, nano just means small. Bots refers to a synthetic, small, tiny circuitry. So the nanobots were included in the C-19 shots, went into the human body, and would self-replicate and create in the body a structure that could transmit electronic signals and also receive from 5G and 6G. Now, what happened in China that made their cremation burners light up all over China? In Wuhan, and I believe China gave their people around Wuhan a juiced up version of the COVID-19 shot. And then, because China places no value on its people and sees them as expendable, and certainly as guinea pigs for any medical experiment China wants to do. They then turned on a high level of 5G or 6G microwaves. And it's well documented from multiple sources that we saw 10,000 Chinese people in the Wuhan area suddenly drop dead in their streets. This is because they had this structure in their body that would transmit and receive electronic signals. They are including microwave that came from the 5G, 6G towers, and literally put microwaves into their body the same way that we put food in a microwave to warm it up. It warmed up the human body from the inside out and literally cooked the Chinese people. They were drop dead in a few seconds. That did, I believe, occur. And now we have more information coming out that the deep state plot is to use the 5G, 6G cell towers on the US population and other global populations to control the populations. And it's coming out so they can put out a certain frequency or microwave from the 5G, 6G to interact with the synthetic structure in the bodies of the people who received COVID-19 shots. And they can literally erase memories and they can input new memories, essentially making
When you take a classic like Hidden Valley Ranch and mix it with Diablo, do you make a classic nugget to dip in it?
Heck no.
No, you
the human population into what we could call zombies who are receiving their commands not through their free thought process, but under control of an outside force. Now, if you've had the C-19 shot, is there anything you can do? Apparently, yes. I've heard many people talk about this is very similar to having parasites in your body. So using natural products that would get rid of parasites in your body is said to be beneficial in getting rid of the structure in your body. And the deep state's global operation with the C-19 bioweapon was to obviously make more money on giving out the C-19 shots, but also to put in place a global form of control over all human populations and to change humans from being Homo sapien to being something called Homo Borg Genesis, no longer human. Therefore, your governments could own you as an asset. So yeah, that's going on. How evil is the deep state? I would say pretty evil, wouldn't you? So we see that going on, yes, and they can control your memories, erase memories, implant new memories. And they can do, and we know now that they can geolocate us through our smartphones. They can recognize us from our faces, eyes, fingerprints, and other aspects, voice of our bodies. So that's going on. And also information that the C-19 and the control mechanism with the nanobots in the human body is designed to be able to take down certain ethnic groups initially. Initially, it would be white females, then white males, then black females, black males, and so on. So that's going on, baby. I don't think it's a conspiracy. I think it's real. And we have this, the background, DARPA, a black ops operator, a division of the U.S. military in the U.S., DARPA, came out of DARPA and was, they had a strong background foundation of experience and knowledge about putting implants into the human body. And it's being put forth by this expert on redacted that the U.S. military began to put implants in U.S. troops beginning in the 1940s. So that's going on. And we have that, yes. Also, the COVID-19 shots included mRNA, which it was a carrier for the nanobots, along with graphene, which is a structure, a material in the human body that would act as a transmitter receiver for the 5G, 6G microwaves. So that's going on. Now we have this. Yes, and many people have had surgery to remove the implants they received from the U.S. military, and that this is a deep state operation put through many governments to control human thoughts and knowledge, erase memories, input new memories. Experiments had not only been done on the U.S. military, but also in prison populations. So that's going on. And now what can we say for the U.S.? I say, thank God we have President Trump in place, who is knowledgeable of these deep state plots. And President Trump is now reacting against other nations' economies to make America great again and safeguard the strength of the U.S. economy. We saw the U.S. recently going in and taking Maduro in Venezuela, taking control of the oil in Venezuela, which then took down the oil supply to Cuba, China, and Iran. So these financial moves we're seeing China make against the U.S. is in retaliation for the U.S. taking control of the Venezuela oil. And now it appears that another move by the U.S. will also put the U.S. in control of the oil in Iran, as well as alleviating and liberating the people of Iran from an insane, psychotic government regime who is slaughtering their own people in their streets. So that's going on in Iran. And we see President Trump protecting and bolstering the U.S. economy. And our U.S. banks have been adding to their supply of gold and silver for several years to also foundate our banks in a position of safety. So, and President Trump has also brought in to the U.S. trillions of dollars in investment that will be translated into factories and companies to offer U.S. citizens high-paying and stable jobs. So that's going on. So it's good to be in prayer for America, President Trump, the U.S. military, and world peace. I love you, and I'll see you soon.
Renovation meet innovation.
Okay. Still going, still a lot more to come here. Another long, last two videos, she's been over 40 minutes. The second one here on
evening. I look like hell because I've been running around taking care of all kind of crap. So, got a little something for you to think about. Have you seen the pictures of the man who threw something in Elon Omar's face, which, by the way, it was apple cider vinegar? Have you seen this picture? Have you seen the pictures of his kids? Like, pink hair, nose rings, all that kind of stuff. So somebody is so angry at you and they're willing to spend a night in jail that they throw apple cider vinegar on you. Who else? Raise your hand if you think that this was a little something made up by the left to take some attention off of Elon and get some sympathy for him. Raise your hands. Raise them real high. Okay, think about that for a minute. So this guy gets that close to her and he gonna squirt a little bit of vinegar on her. And then she just doesn't even go to the hospital to make sure whatever that was that landed on her. Do you remember when the North Korean guy wanted to unalive one of his relatives? I think it might have been his uncle. I may be wrong on this. He had someone basically touch this guy with something, and he was like unalive within minutes. You can look that up because I know I ain't got it right. Y'all all know I ain't got it right, but I kind of got it right. If somebody walked up to you and squirted something on you and you were in that position, would you not immediately get to the hospital, take off your clothes? What was this? Analyze it. Holy crap, I forgot. No, she went right back to her
for a long
speech.
time, Paul. Everybody likes her.
Y'all, we are dealing with some sick, mentally deranged people. And all of the minions. Oh, Elon was attacked. It had to be MAGA that did it. Oh, my God. Elon Smollett is Justin Smollett, your cousin. I mean, what the fuck? Hello, everybody. Good evening. I look like hell because I've been running around taking care of all kind of crap.
Okay, that was another good one with her. Okay, I got a couple Michigan updates. Somebody new on TikTok.
Another $100 on gas going there and coming back. I had to buy dinner for myself and the kids and my relatives. We probably spent about $50 for dinner. We had breakfast at the hotel, and then we had lunch on our way back. At $300 from last night through today, just trying to get to Baldwin so that she could see her loved one. There are family members who have been going there on a weekly basis or who are going there a lot more frequent to see their loved one. That particular detention center can hold up to 1,800 people. There was, by the guards table, a table with coloring books. There were Disney and Paw Patrol coloring books. There were markers and crayons. So that told me that there was probably a lot of children that have come through those waiting rooms. Otherwise, like, why would they have those things there? The entire time going there, I was worried that I was going to get a flat tire or something was going to happen because it was literally like so cold. My windows were frosted the entire way there was driving on ice. So I was worried about that. I was worried about my kids who stayed back at the hotel because I didn't want to take them there. I didn't want to leave them in the car, and I just didn't want to take them in there. I actually did not tell my kids where we were going. I just told them that I had a very important meeting that I had to go to, and I attend a lot of meetings and events. So when I say that, like, they understand that, you know, mommy's working. My relative and I, we were mostly just talking in my native Hmong language, so my kids didn't really quite understand, but they just knew that, you know, they had to go with me. I try to shield my kids from all the things that we see on the news and the media, and so we don't watch a lot of TV. Like, we talk about issues as a family, but I did not tell them where we were going, and frankly, I just didn't know like how to have that conversation with them. It was crazy that, you know, here I am driving 4 hours to see someone who has been detained by ICE and trying to get them some legal support because they don't have any legal representation. They don't have an attorney. They were not prepared for any of this. It was extremely challenging just trying to get there, knowing everything else that is going on, because I know that ICE shot someone and killed them. Another US citizen who was an ICU nurse, and my heart just goes out to Minnesota, person's family, and everyone else that has been impacted. When we got there, her loved one came out. He's a very tall person, and I'm very short, but he was very tall, and so he kind of like towers over people. And I just saw this really big person who frankly looked really small. He looked very defeated. I could see in his eyes desperation, the sadness, the pain. I think he was really relieved to see us, but he was also like really ashamed and just really deflated, very torn, very traumatized about what he has been going through these past few weeks. But I would say that all of this, it was worth seeing the family being able to embrace, even if it was just for a few minutes. I thought that that was worth it. And my fears sort of went away when I saw them embrace, because I just thought like it was worth it. You know, packing up all my kids and putting them in the van, driving 4 hours to a place that is scary and unknown and in the worst weather possible. It was worth it. It was worth seeing the family embracing, even if it was just for a few minutes. If you are tired of the failed Republican policies, being lied to, seeing your grocery prices rising, your cost of living going up instead of down, then I encourage you to support candidates like me and Democrats up and down the ballot. Because I will continue to fight for immigrants' rights and to fight for working families, keeping families together, and making sure that our tax dollars are coming back to our community instead of.
My fault, you guys. She said she's a Democrat. She just said it. Seven minutes on this one.
As Long Island Audit, I'm here because I don't want you to forget. I love coming here to Melbourne. It's a great place to be. I love it here. I love contributing to your economy and your restaurants and everything else. So I want to make sure that you guys understand, when you're city manager, when you're speaking to the congressman, maybe you can speak to them about what the illegal actions your mayor has engaged in. Maybe that's something to talk about, because it's not right. You can't vote for $500,000 to go to somebody and then benefit $10,000. None of you would see that as objectively reasonable, that you would see that as corruption. You would see that as something that's wrong. This mayor has a history of trying to gaslight the people and saying, oh, I can't speak. I wonder why he's not here today, by the way. He's never here. I feel like I'm here more than him, so maybe I'll run for mayor. Maybe I'll move out here and run for mayor. But it's just disappointing that nobody's speaking up about this, and they should. This is important, what the mayor is doing. And I submitted a FOIA request to the city clerk. They tried to charge me $7,000 for all the information. You guys can get that for free. Why can't you just do that? Why do I have to spend $7,000 to get documents between the mayor and Larry Jarnes? It's ridiculous. I'm a journalist conducting an investigation. I already found the 10,000 you didn't see it. So I'm trying to find more of the relationship and the voting record between the mayor.
Good.
The mayor is not here today, but he likes to call me a paid agitator, and I'm trying to extort him or something like that. I don't know what I would extort him for. I'm not sure how much he has, but I don't want anything from the mayor. But this is 5 years ago. Somebody sent this to me. Let's all take a listen. Let's see.
Disgrace from the Melbourne Police Department for stealing taxpayer dollars by forging time cards, admitting to visiting a prostitute while on duty during an investigation of missing narcotics, and unlawfully tasing and beating an innocent fisherman, causing a city lawsuit and settlement of thousands of dollars. Paul Alfred, reckless as a cop, unfit for mayor.
They showed the lawsuits. You guys support a man who beats people as a cop, who has had problems with the drug containing the drugs at the department, resigned in disgrace. These are all facts. These cops here could probably tell you. The lieutenant that's here, he could probably tell you. They're all victims of Paul Alfred. He retaliates against these officers. I received so many different complaints from the police department anonymously because they're scared you guys are going to retaliate against them, or the chief is going to retaliate against them. They're scared of their own mayor. They're like, oh, what if I don't speak up against the mayor, I'm going to be gone out of here. This is ridiculous. You guys are public servants. You should do your job. The mayor should be here first and foremost. But you guys should do your job and investigate this for the public. I know there's not a lot of people watching here. There's like maybe 6 people here, but more people will be watching. And I want to encourage everybody watching to go to your public meeting, local public meeting, and participate in your democracy and your government. Thank you.
That was good stuff. So Benny just came out with something very important. Well, the mystery liquid revealed. This came out.
Pathetic. People hurting.
It's that some people did something. All of us were starting to lose.
Floyd, Jesse Smollett, COVID-19, the January 6th insurrection, hands up, don't shoot, Michael Brown. All of these are frauds, hoaxes perpetrated on the American public by Democrats and the media working together to try and seize further power over you, lock you up, lock you away, burn down your cities, and to ensure that they rule forever. And I don't want to be hoaxed. I don't want to be defrauded any longer. I refuse to give in to the psyops. I refuse to give in to the social pressure. And therefore, we have looked at this attack on Ilhan Omar with some skepticism on this channel because, well, it just seems all too convenient. None of the attack makes sense. You know, here's Ilhan Omar giving a speech. She looks directly at and nods at the individual who's about to spray her with a syringe. And then instead of, well, doing what you would do if you were actually attacking somebody, not like I'm calling for that, but this is what you would do. We've all seen what an attack looks like. The attacker runs away, runs right into the waiting arms of Ilhan Omar's security as Ilhan Omar, who's half his size, runs toward him with her fist up as though she's finna fight him. Okay. Then something even more remarkable happens. Ilhan Omar just keeps giving a speech. And she gives a speech for another 10 minutes. Then she does press interviews wearing the same clothes that she was just sprayed in. You can see here, she's sprayed it, by the way, unflinchingly sprayed, right? She barely even jumps. And, well, that's why we think there's something fishy going on. Also, the attacker has long ties to left-wing activism. His wife is big fans of AOC and Ilhan Omar. He's got kids that are genderqueer and so on and so on and so on. Okay, so it just makes us think that there's something fishy happening. And, well, we're not going to apologize for that. The point is that we now know what was being sprayed on Ilhan Omar. The reason why this is so weird is because, well, what if he was spraying the bubonic plague? What if he was spraying SARS or anthrax What if he was spraying her with acid? This happens a lot in the Muslim world, where you are sprayed with acid and you're disfigured and it's horrible. What if she was sprayed with something that had a contagion element to it? Again, the plague. I don't know. Smallpox. What if she was sprayed with something that could have gotten everybody else sick? She didn't know. And so why the hell is she continuing her speech? She does. She just continues giving a speech, just hanging out with everyone, rolling out. She didn't try and change. She didn't try and wash her skin. She didn't try and wash her clothes. Anyway, we now know what she was sprayed with. The reason why this doesn't shock us is that Ilhan Omar acts as though she knows that what she's being sprayed with is a completely and totally harmless substance. Sure enough, hazmat crews reveal that Ilhan Omar was sprayed with apple cider vinegar. Oh no. Apple cider vinegar, you mean like the harmless cooking and cleaning liquid that virtually every American house has? You can just buy it off the shelf at any grocery store? Got it. Ilhan Omar was hit with the kitchen staple when 55-year-old Anthony Kazmirziak stormed the podium and left the congresswoman firing off an anti-ice spiel. Okay. So there he has a syringe of apple cider vinegar.
Spinning on Fanatics Casino, explained by Patrick Schwarzenegger, while also spinning.
Only Fanatics Casino has fan cash.
Sure, dude. Yeah, that's right. This is a great idea. He's charged with third-degree assault. He needs to be charged federally, and then they need to depose Ilhan Omar. Something doesn't sit right here. Something's still not right with all of this. Apple cider vinegar. Why would you destroy your life over apple cider vinegar? Why wouldn't you just get up and yell at her? Why would you commit the felony? If you got up and yelled at her, there's no felony. You spray her with something that is, again, a harmless substance, which we're thankful for. It's not like we're cheering for that. We're not cheering for anything bad to happen to anyone. But what I'm saying is it don't make no sense, okay? I was born, but I wasn't born yesterday. Minneapolis council member who ended up being hit by some of the liquid told the Post that the stench was so bad that she vomited. It was like vinegar or ammonia. Well, it was literally vinegar, okay? I started smelling really like apple cider vinegar-y, she says. Then it started to smell like ammonia, like strong, pure ammonia smell. I was wondering whether the smell was going to go away. I got sick to my stomach, and I went outside and threw up because the smell was so strong. Apple cider vinegar. All right. Kazmirziak was caught on video allegedly spraying the amber-colored liquid on Ilhan Omar's chest moments after leaping out of a front row seat. And he got tackled.
2.5.
There you go. Sources tell me apple cider vinegar
or the second
was what sprayed Ilhan Omar.
5 minutes and then 2 short ones.
So what? The more we learn, the more staged it looks. Donald Trump saying, well, maybe she sprayed herself, calling Ilhan Omar a fraud. We need a common sense apple cider vinegar regulation in America. This madness has to end. Apple cider vinegar can be used in drinks that you're making on a summer day. You can drink it. Last night, attack on Ms. Omar. It's time to demand direct action. We need a complete federal ban on apple cider vinegar. Everyone's making the same joke. Turns out Ilhan Omar got sprayed with apple cider vinegar last night. Totally not staged. Update, she got sprayed by apple cider vinegar. It goes far beyond just apple cider vinegar. Congress must also regulate balsamic, red, distilled malt vinegar, and the whole aceto-industrial complex. There you go. Turns out Ilhan Omar barely survived someone tossing apple cider vinegar on her shirt last night. A bunch of low IQ leftists who put a false flag operation together. Everyone's still calling this even more staged now. It's being reported that Ilhan Omar was sprayed with apple cider vinegar because this is not 100% staged. I've survived taking shots of apple cider vinegar. If CNN wants to interview me about it, yes, you can ingest it. I'm not saying go drink a gallon of it. I'm just saying this is a harmless household product that you can buy off any shelf in any counter. look, at least Jesse Smollett knew he was going to get roughed up a little bit to sell the hoax. Apple cider vinegar, come on. Apple cider vinegar. Ilhan Omar attack. Yeah, I don't buy it. You can watch here. She doesn't even flinch. And then she goes running at the dude. Yeah, and then she goes running at him. Sorry, man. I'm not buying it. Not buying it. And now that I found out what it is, I'm not going to be surprised when it comes out that this is some type of major distraction that was set up. Not going to be surprised. Bookmark this. It's your boy Benny.
All right, that just came out.
Stay safe out there from the
about 10 minutes ago. So now we know what it was.
Announcement. We had a huge victory today in court. And guys, this is going to change the way the midterms go this year. And I am super excited about it. But I need your help, guys, real quick. Guys, I never, ever do this, but this is so important. Every single day I come to you guys and I say, welcome back, family. Guys, I consider each and every one of you guys my family. We are a patriot family, and we must stand together. Guys, there's a family in Minneapolis, in Minnesota, with all the craziness that has gone down up there. They have lost their home. They are supporters of this channel. Their family are supporters of this channel. And unfortunately, their home is burnt down. They've lost everything. They saved their lives. But guys, they're in the hospital right now. We have a GoFundMe going for them. Like I said, I never do this, but please go to the description. The GoFundMe is going. Guys, they're trying to raise we're trying to raise $45,000. I know that we can get there just with our group of patriots right here. So guys, whatever you can do to help this patriot family, let's help them in their moment of need. Again, it would be a huge blessing. Let me get to this though, guys, really quick. So we've seen this push across the country for these states, especially blue states, to rig their elections by redrawing and redistricting their congressional maps. And so what we've seen is they've tried to do this under the cloak of darkness because they know that the majority of the counties in their state are red. If you look across the congressional map or the map in the United States, the vast majority of the counties in this country, it's not even close, are red. And so they've tried to gobble up some of these red counties so that they have a better chance of getting more people or more congressmen and more Democrat congressmen in office. So guys, as we've watched this unfold, we've started to realize that there's no way that we can allow this to continue. We've seen it happen with California. We've seen it happen with Oregon, and they were all saying they were doing it as a result of Texas with their redistricting. Totally different. And Texas went about it legally. Well, Virginia attempted to do it, but in Virginia, they run a little bit differently. In Virginia, they are required to use a board, a redistricting board, that is actually made up of half Democrats, half Republicans. In most states, it is a legislative process. The legislator does the districting, which is the way it was in Virginia until several years ago, where they voted to change it. So they amended their constitution. Now, the problem is that they realized that they were going to get their tails kicked in 2026. So in order to fix that, they decided to try to change their constitution last minute. And a judge got a hold of that, realized what they were attempting to do because they had a majority in the Virginia legislature. And the Virginia legislator, He said, absolutely not. Jack Hurley said, this is not going to work. If you guys want to redistrict, you can go about it legally. If you want to change the Constitution, you can go about it legally, but you have to give the people of Virginia at least 90 days notice so that they can make their voices known. They knew this already, but they tried to do it anyway. So the soonest that they can do this redistricting would have to be 2027. Guys, they know that they know they're going to lose. In my opinion, I don't think that they can win the midterms. If number one, if conservatives actually show up to vote, which is a big if, but it has to happen. And two, if we have free and fair elections. Both of those things are underway. I think they're in big trouble, and they're trying to cheat their way to a victory. Comment below. Let me know what you think. Please help the Saba family. We'll see you guys next time.
2 more short ones, guys.
That's the sound of an American oil company.
3 hours even here.
Hear me out. 5 days ago, they sprayed here in Alabama. The next day, they reported a big winter storm was coming. Ice, quarter inch of ice, 12 to 15 inches of snow. Okay? And the weather was nice a couple days. And then they sprayed us again. But hear me what I'm trying to say here. I've been told by a couple people that used to be military intelligence. I heard them say that there's some of the sprays are good sprays. Like, so basically what we have is a bad guy spraying us to create these disasters. And then we got the good guys coming to spray to reverse so we don't have the disasters. Because case in point right here. 5 days ago, they sprayed us. The next day, they said big old ice storm was coming with 12 to 15 inches of snow. And then they sprayed us again, and then bam, we ain't getting nothing. But the history has been they would spray us, and then the weather would be bad. Look at Western North Carolina. Look at all.
I better stop that one. There's music. I'll see what I can get here. One more will do. Another good stuff. Good intel tonight. Come on. We got one more. See what one we'll play for the last one. All right. Oh, let's play Trisha. Trish has one. We'll make that one be the last. If I can find her. Where is she? I gotta find. This one was 2 hours ago. So it'll be 14 minutes. So be a little bit over 3 hours tonight.
On their own show. It's actually kind of great. And it was when you had a situation in the Boston area, and the Michelle Wu, who was the Boston mayor, was furious because they had some ICE vehicles that apparently had been parked outside of a church, and they started attacking Homan for it. And boy, did he turn it on its heels. It's a really important soundbite to hear. And I think important when you understand how he's willing to fight fire with fire, and he's not willing to put up with anybody's BS. And he's like, you guys are either with us or against us. So you better be with us.
I see on the show this morning you had Governor Healy talking about ICE doing enforcement operations at a church. False. Didn't happen.
They were parked there. They did not do an operation there. She said they were parked in a public space legally.
But to say that and to push that out there puts fear in the immigrant community. So let me tell you what's happening.
To do that puts fear in the community.
Right.
To park the ICE agent's vehicle
they're on a
near
public
a church.
Street.
They
are
are
on a public street.
She
They're
said
on a public street
sir.
waiting to respond to a criminal alien release pulled aside the road. Let me tell you, in the last couple of days, what's happened in Boston. They arrested Victor Gomez Perez, a 33-year-old criminal alien from Guatemala, with charges of aggravated assault and battery with dangerous weapon, indecent assault and battery on a victim 14 years or younger. They arrested Kaylee Espinosa, a 33-year-old criminal alien from Colombia, with charges of aggravated assault on a pregnant victim. They arrested Joshua Gonzalez, a 23-year-old criminal alien from Dominican Republic, with charges for trafficking heroin, morphine, opium, resisting police, disorderly conduct, and drug distribution. They also arrested Samuel Armando Barrera, a 20-year-old criminal illegal alien from Guatemala, pending charges for assault and battery on a child. So Mayor Wu and Governor Healy, they ought to be calling ICE and thanking them for making their streets safer, for protecting their communities and taking these people off the street.
You see, you needed that kind of message. You just needed that kind of message. And he knows how to deliver that message. That was from a couple months ago when you had that situation there in Massachusetts. But he knows how to deliver that better than anyone else. And look at those two anchors, by the way. Look at those guys. I mean, I mean, is the male host trying to channel Mika?
Tomorrow,
his little face. I mean, this just cracks me up. The two of them, my gosh. I don't know where the hubby was that day, for goodness sakes. But bottom line is, Tom Homan knows how to deal with the media. He knows how to deal with Walz. He knows how to deal with Jacob Fry. He knows how to deal with the local police. And this is important right now. I mean, and again, back to how he knows how to deal with the media. I mean, he just completely destroyed Mika. That wasn't the end of it. Let's watch.
They've turned a blind eye to this. They're sanctuary cities. Sanctuaries, cities and sanctuary states are sanctuaries for criminals. Give ICE access to the jail to arrest a bad guy in the jail rather than have to go in the community to find them. Because when you go in the community and find them, it puts ICE officers at greater risk. It puts the community at greater risk. It puts the alien at greater risk because anything can happen on a street arrest. This is what we're trying to do. We're trying to prioritize public safety threats when you got governors and mayors who are releasing these public safety threats every day into the community. That causes the crime rate, and we've seen some terrible incidents in the last few days where innocent victims are murdered. This past year, I've seen innocent Americans raped and murdered by people who are not supposed to be here. So rather than going back and forth, say, well, ICE has got a car parked near a church, that is ridiculous. You're out there looking for people like this, exactly what they're doing.
Well, I would argue that actually
wait, we should go to the end of it, right? Because she actually tries to fire back something at him. How dare I get out before that?
Can you go?
Let's see. Let's see if we can get it back. Can we? You know we're live.
I'm trying to blind eye to this.
Has nothing. She has nothing to say. Here we go.
They're being arrested. They're being put in detention because they committed a criminal offense.
Not like what you're doing.
Not even close. We're enforcing the law and arresting people here in violation of law that are public safety threats. That's not disappearing people. That's enforcing the laws of this country and making this country safer.
Yeah. I mean, so he's good at this, okay? He knows how to talk the talk. He knows how to communicate with the crazy libs on the left in the media. He knows how to communicate with lawmakers. And by the way, he knows the law. Okay, he knows the law. Just, you know who found that out the hard way? AOC, when she tried to question him. This was back a ways. This was actually, we have to go back a few years, but this is fantastic. And this kind of showcases everything you need to know about Tom Homan and his ability to take on the crazy libs.
Which includes family separation.
The same as is whenever U.S. citizen parent gets arrested when they're with a child.
Find a Planet Fitness near you for $1 down, $15 a month. Cancel anytime. Deal ends January 30th.
Hi, I'm JT, and I made Result Hunter, the search engine for conservatives. Let me just tell you what it does. First of all, big tech.
Zero tolerance was interpreted as the policy that separated children from their
If I get arrested for DUI and I have a young child in a car, I'm going to be separated. When I was a police officer in New York and I arrested a father for domestic violence, I separated that father
Mr.
from
Holman,
his
with
family.
all due respect, legal asylees are not charged with any crime.
When you're into the country illegally, it's violation 8 United States Code 1325.
Seeking asylum is legal.
If you want to seek asylum, you go through the port of entry, do it the legal way. The Attorney General of the United States has made that clear.
Okay.
Okay. Again, he knows the law, you don't. But, one of the reasons he knows the law is because he's done this before. Yeah, he did this with Barack Obama. He actually got the Medal of Freedom from Barack Obama. Imagine that. Yeah. This guy knows what he's doing. Okay. So this is who you're going to go after, AOC. This is who you're going to go after, Morning Joe. This is who you're going to go after. Timmy Walz and Jacob Fry? I don't think so. I think he's going to have this covered quite nicely. Thank you very much. And look, we can't deal with this kind of resistance in Minneapolis. It's not okay. It's unacceptable. The reason you've got a problem there in Minneapolis is because some of the Democrat lawmakers and some of these crazy libs on the left, and we don't even know who's financing them and helping them to organize. But I think that's another thing that's going to be looked into. Of course, look, they're well organized. They're well trained. And they have decided to make themselves ground zero for resistance. And that's just wrong. And you have lawmakers like Jacob Fry and like Timmy Walz that are going along for the ride. And those days are over now that Homan's in charge. Representative Steve Scalise, speaking on Face the Nation over the weekend, making this exact point.
You don't see these numbers either, though. When we looked at, for example, at the federal response in New Orleans, I mean, it's just a fraction of the number of federal agents. Nearly 3,000 is quite a lot for a city the size of Minneapolis.
Well, that's because they didn't get resistance in cities like New Orleans, where, when you look in Minneapolis, and I just listened to the chief, and you could hear him lamenting 4 times, I think he said, that they're strapped so thin. And let's keep in mind, Minneapolis is a city that defunded their police. That's not the chief's fault. That's the failed Democrat leader's fault. But at the same time, when they defund the police, that leaves the chief stretched thin. And so
he was talking
they've
about
made a decision not to assist ICE.
Yeah. So they did. They made that decision, and that's got to change. Here you see what he sent out just yesterday after having had a call with Tim Walz. And he said, look, Tim Walz has requested that we work together. It was a good call that we had. We seem to be on a similar wavelength. I don't know why that would be all of a sudden right now. Maybe Timmy Walz is finally recognizing that they really do have a massive problem on their hands. And he said, look, I'm willing to send Tom Homan in. He was already going to send Tom Homan in. And I think this is a chance for us to sort of reset things. And so resetting is what's been going on right now. And again, I think it's important to note that these protesters who were just rabid, and you saw all the activity on social media going into last night. They were angry that Homan was coming in. It got so bad that Kash Patel, head of the FBI, had to come out and say, look, we've seen what's going on. We're not okay with this. And we are going to make sure that we follow through and figure out just exactly, who's been making these threats, because it's not okay. And then you have the combo effect of the local law enforcement, in fact, trying to do something when they realized that they were trying to hurt, of course, Greg Bovino. Let me go to that Fox report.
Yeah, last night, a few dozen protesters there targeted a hotel in the Minneapolis suburb of Maple Grove, where they believed Greg Bovino was staying, until local Maple Grove police showed up, started arresting people. At least 26 arrests made last night. Different scene than what we've seen at some of these hotel protests in Minneapolis, where federal agents are lucky if police show up at all.
So things are changing. That's good. You have those on the left, calling for Kristi Noem's head. I don't think that's really going to get you anywhere. I think you're going to be exactly where we are today with Tom Homan in the seat, who's actually stronger. I mean, in my opinion, he is stronger, he is tougher, he is more badass than Kristi ever dreamt of being, because this is all he's ever done. Okay, thank you very much. This is his life cause. He's like, we're going to straighten this place out. And he's done it under various presidents. Again, you're looking at a picture of him. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts, thank you, or on Spotify Podcasts, thank you. You are always welcome to join us live on the YouTube version of the show, or catch the entire show in its entirety on Spotify right after. Thank you for being here, guys. I did put the Spotify link in the show link, so please do me a favor and help us get that up there. We've been doing really well. And if you haven't subscribed here, make sure you subscribe. I think the button is right down there. Did I get that right? Subscribe to the channel. You have Homan coming to the rescue, and things are going to change. I mean, look, this shouldn't be that hard. We know what it's about. We know it's about them trying to score some more people and thus votes for themselves. But this shouldn't be that way. I mean, both sides used to agree on this. In fact, Obama, let's go back to him in 2010, because I think he helped crystallize it more than anyone. Voila.
There are those in the immigrants' rights community who have argued passionately that we should simply provide those who are illegally with legal status, or at least ignore the laws on the books and put an end to deportation until we have better laws. And often this argument is framed in moral terms. Why should we punish people who are just trying to earn a living? I recognize the sense of compassion that drives this argument. But I believe such an indiscriminate approach would be both unwise and unfair. It would suggest to those thinking about coming here illegally that there will be no repercussions for such a decision. And this could lead to a surge in more illegal immigration.
Okay.
It would also ignore the millions of people around the world who are waiting in line to come here legally.
Right, because it's not fair. Okay, which is why, yes, Tom Homan did a good job and he got the medal. This is partly why Trump wanted him. You needed somebody, sort of an elder statesman there in the job, being able to lead the way. And that's exactly what he's doing right now, which is really, really good. Hey, if you guys have not gone over to 76 Research, you really, really need to. I think gold was up again today. Let me give it a quick check. One of our portfolios that's just done extraordinarily well. All of them have done well, but boy, it sounds boring. It's called the Inflation Protection Portfolio. I told Rob, maybe we need to change the name of it. It's the Debasement Portfolio or something, because it's an exciting portfolio once you get in there, because it's absolutely soaring and way outpacing the S&P. But we have three different portfolios. We have the American Resilience Portfolio, the Inflation Protection Portfolio. Well, I encourage you guys to go check all of the portfolios out. Or if you're not ready to actually get the portfolio, at least do me this favor. For $1 a month, for the first 2 months, you can get the 76 report. Go sign up for the 76 report. Use my code word dollar. We had the market again. The S&P trading up 0.4%. The NASDAQ up almost 1%. The Dow Jones Industrial Average ending the day a little bit lower. United Health weighing on the Dow as health insurance stocks slid today. You had shares of Humana, United Health, CVS leading some of those losses, sinking 14% or more. And that caused the drop there in the Dow. But listen, what a story it has been for gold. I'm telling you, let me just double check and make sure that it, in fact, sure enough, what do you know? Gosh darn it, up nearly 2%, $5,178 an ounce. Incredible, just incredible. So again, Inflation Protection Portfolio doing very well because there's lots of gold stocks in there.
Okay, that was a good one to end the show tonight. Oh, yep, a lot of good stuff again. Lots going on. So, okay, keep on getting your rest. Thanks all the mods, Carol, Tim, Lucy, and God bless. Never please hit the like and make sure you're sub to the backup channels there in the description box. Stay safe, stay strong, keep the faith, and what do we always say? What Trump says, never give up. Chico's dude, signing off for another night of intel. Tomorrow's Thursday and another day. See how things go. Everyone have a good day tomorrow and see you all tomorrow.